Good evening, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. Happy Friday. I got Anthony DiMaggio back on. Many people wondering where he was at. Right here on Basement Politics tonight with Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins.
Hey, Anthony.
Fatality.
I didn't do that fast enough. How you doing, man? Good evening.
I'm good. Good to be back.
Yeah, a funny thing about that. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. It's Anthony DiMaggio. I may have some new viewers, maybe, since then. So, former police lieutenant, 15-year veteran with the Yonkers Police Department. And you have quite a story that you've been telling. And if you haven't seen any of the podcasts, you can go back on YouTube or even on Facebook and check them out. I think we also created a I know Danny. I see Danny. I know Danny. I was trying to
Already, huh?
Yeah, no, you're talking about something else. But I did make a folder with your, I believe, right? Was that on YouTube with your podcast, so they can go on there and specifically see your the Anthony DiMaggio series.
Okay.
Right. So anyway, Anthony, how you doing? How's everything?
I'm good, man. I feel a little refreshed, even though I've been really busy over the last couple of months. I was a little burnt out. That last podcast we did, I didn't prepare really fully like I like to, and it showed. And I rewatched it, and we had made a mistake, so we took it down. I actually censored the mistake that I made. I have a video editor.
Right.
I censored it, and I can actually repost it. Maybe I'll do that, at some point next week.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. I don't think I think people are they're not being hard on you as you are yourself. So don't worry about it. I think
people don't understand how much preparation goes into these podcasts, and you do it 4 or 5 nights a week sometimes. Well, I did it. I was doing it with you once a week. And I was doing a lot of preparation, so I can only imagine what you do. So
I could probably be better prepared, but I am trying to rush, into the time that I have and stuff. And then, and so people have been saying, Freddie, I got a text message, and this person, if they're watching, they'll know who they are. They said, I hear you in Vinny's good graces again, Vinny Spano, referring to Vinny Spano, and because I haven't maybe mentioned the Spanos, and maybe because you haven't been on a Friday. And I just thought that was funny. But no, on Friday sometimes too, I'm tired. I got a lot going on, and I just want to just rest. I try to do something early on, if anything, and then the evening time I want to just relax. So it's nothing like that. It's just it is what it is, right? But we're back, so we're gonna talk about some more of the IMA clinic. You got a document there from a woman named Barbara Young, and this is gonna be in reference to the appointment change that they did on you.
Yeah, it's not a document from Barbara Young. It's a document written up by Internal Affairs.
Okay.
Straight out of I had cause. I've been very busy over my over my time off that I wasn't coming on.
Oh, it's in reference to correspondence with
right. So
Barbara Young. Okay.
I always think that when we do the podcast and we're gonna talk about a couple of other things tonight.
Yeah.
The CJ case towards the end of the podcast.
You say you have some stuff on that, update on that you're going to talk about.
Whenever we talk about my situation, my termination story, I think it's always good to start by just playing that little clip of that voicemail, the one that really tells what it's all about. And I always send it to you beforehand as a refresher.
Oh,
so I sent it to you in an email just now. Well, if you have it on the soundboard, that's fine. But I sent you the short clip where you're just talking about the game, because that's all it is a big game.
Oh, I don't have that part.
You think you are. Because you want to play this game, you're going to lose it. I'll tell you right now.
Right. So,
hey, listen, I know you, Lieutenant, but you have a problem with the detectives, you call Detective Sergeant. If you have a problem with that, you call Detective Lieutenant. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. Because you want to play this game, you're going to lose it. I'll tell you right now. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. Save this message and play to whoever you want. Okay? There's a chain of command. If you have an issue with a sergeant, you call my lieutenant. If you have an issue with a detective, you call the sergeant. Don't answer my phone call. I don't give a fuck about you. Wake up.
Yeah, so that's the long version. That's the full version.
Yeah.
But the key phrase in there is you want to play this game, you're going to lose it. Everything that happened with me was a big game. Going over right up to City Hall. So we've been over that 1,000 times. You like you said, you might have some new viewers. So we'll cover a little bit of what happened. We'll recap just enough to make people understand the document that I'm going to show tonight, that you're going to show, that I sent you, right? So as part of yeah. How you doing, Danny? Nice to talk to you again, pal. Yeah, Venturino planted drugs on Danny about 20 years ago, and he's been fighting to clear up his record ever since. But anyways, so as part of this game, they had leveraged my daughter's mother into going to family court and filing a family offense petition saying X, Y, and Z, and she's afraid for her safety and all this and all that. Right? Now, when they told me that I had to go to see a doctor, right, the fix is obviously already in, but they need ammunition to give the doctor. So what they did was, what Mueller did was he set up this appointment at the IMA clinic, right? He called to make the appointment in late January is when he made the phone call. This was going back to 2020. And he waited several weeks to even notify me of the appointment, right? My attorney had to intervene and say, what's going on? You told my client you were going to send him for this appointment. It's been 2 weeks. He's been sitting up in the radio room passing time. He hasn't been told anything. Little did I know, they were waiting for her to find some new argument, some new something, some me showing up to her house unannounced or whatever, where she can take that and attach all this fraudulent concern to it, take it to the family court, file a family offense petition, get an order of protection based on that family offense petition, and then give that to the doctor up at the IMA clinic. Only then was Mueller going to tell me that he had made this appointment, right? Now
they were getting their
right.
evidence together.
He was doing what he's been doing to people since probably his first day on the job. All right, what he and his clique, the Olsenettes, Keith Olsen, Louis Venturino, probably Brian Moranto. I don't really know Brian that well, but he was a part of them, so I'm sure he was a part of all this nonsense.
Oh, by the way, not to cut you off, but there was the relay for life today at Gorton High School today. Just mentioning Keith Olsen, his sister does that. Right.
So while they're waiting for her to get this opportunity to file this family offense petition, right? The clock is ticking, and we're not getting any word on when this appointment is going to be. My attorney emails Justin Barbado. What's up with this appointment? You guys said you were going to send him for it. We haven't heard anything. Barbado doesn't respond. Instead,
oh, we lost Anthony. You there?
You there?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh, was that my internet going out again?
Yeah, I think so.
You there?
Yeah. It's an EMP attack.
Okay. All right.
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Check my repeater, but no, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just a weak signal. But you got me back?
I can hear your voice. Go ahead.
All right. So I don't know where I was before we got cut off by the bad internet, but
well, go ahead.
Right. They're waiting for this evidence. It's going to be a family offense petition and an order of protection. They want it in place before they notify me about the doctor's appointment, right? And if the day comes of the doctor's appointment and she hasn't yet found some sort of a situation to take the family.
Well, I lost him again. Well, that's Anthony DiMaggio. What he's talking about there.
Opportunity yet.
There we go. You cut off a little bit again. Go ahead.
He's going to. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Let me check the repeater.
So Anthony DiMaggio, and if you're new, if you don't know, he was a 15-year veteran of Yonkers Police Department. For the most part, had a flawless record. Had letters of recommendation. There was a situation, a call that he was working that night and arrived to the scene. It was in a bodega. There was an assault with a weapon, and as he's doing the investigation, two detectives who are supposed to be the ones investigating it came, checked it out, and left. Anthony DiMaggio said something about that. Actually, that's why he received that phone call and that message that I just played. And so
It's funny.
now
I
he's
go
been-
across the room and I hear you perfectly. I don't, you know, it's hopefully
so
we're all
the
right now.
audio's coming in. It's just, you know, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So he's waiting for this evidence. She's going to go to the family court. He's got the doctor's appointment all in place. He hasn't told me about it. He's waiting for her. He doesn't want to notify me
Right.
until he gets it. He gets
Right.
the order of protection, right?
Yeah, they want to
And the
get
reason-
everything together,
right.
so that way, then they'll let you know about the appointment, so that way when you go, they have all this stuff prepared for.
This is how crooked
ammo.
cops piece together fake investigations against people that they don't like. Okay?
Right.
Whether
Like
it be
Danny.
cops or civilians like Danny Sullivan, right? Exactly. So he's waiting. The reason he's waiting to tell me about the appointment is because once he tells me, now I know about it. Now he's kind of locked into it. So if all those days pass, the day of the appointment comes, she still hasn't found her opportunity to file the family defense petition, then the doctor who he's telling to fail me is going to have to come up with ammo all on his own, and there's just not that much there. You know what I mean? He's got to get to a diagnosis that's going to end my career.
Right. They're trying to give him the ammo basically
right.
to take you out.
So he waits. When my attorney sort of foils their plan and says, all right, you got to let me email Barbado. So he emails Barbado. Barbado doesn't respond. They send two lieutenants, Glenn Caserta. I'm going to show some text messages with him tonight. Glenn Caserta and Jared Singer, both CLSA board guys, treasurer and secretary. And they come and they hand deliver me an appointment notice so that there's no record of the delivery, right? They just do it in person.
And now, why wouldn't they want a record of the delivery?
Because they want to like say there's a court action later. They want to be able to lie and say, oh, well, you know, Anthony's attorney sent this email asking us what's up with this appointment. Why hasn't he heard anything about it? But we don't know why his attorney sent that email because we gave them this paper as soon as we made the appointment, right? So they want to be able to lie and say that they gave it to me right away, that they weren't waiting.
So they handed it to you. But if you had security cameras, you can prove when they showed up.
Yeah, well, those are in the control of the department. I'm never going to get my hands on that footage, believe me. But it doesn't matter anyway, because the morning of the appointment, which was only 2 days later, I decided on the outside chance this might actually be a real appointment, a real evaluation. I want to go see my kid because nothing puts me in a better mood than seeing my kid. You know what I mean? You want to be in a good mood.
Right.
So I go up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, to my daughter's mother's house. There was no rules against it. She and I were never on those kind of terms where you can't come to my house, anything like that. So I text her, I'm going up. You know, that's a whole elaborate story in and of itself. Long story short, she takes me showing up at her house, you know, unannounced, which I kind of did because it was last minute, but I did send her a text that I was coming. But I didn't tell her the night before or anything like that. I just sort of did it on a whim.
And now that's in your agreement, right? You have to notify her ahead of time. Is that you have to let her know you're coming up to visit or something?
No, there's nothing like that in the agreement. It's a very basic agreement.
So why would that be a problem if you come unannounced?
It's not.
Oh,
but they made it. They turned it into one because they needed ammunition. Right.
Okay.
So she gets word back to them. He just came. Okay. He just came. What do you want me to do? Well, you know what to do. Get your ass over to the family court and file this petition. Get this order of protection. Get it back to us. Now here's the problem. Now I already have the appointment notice because they had served me with it a couple of nights earlier. So now I'm about to go for this doctor's appointment later in the day, which on any other day of the week probably would have been fine, right? She can go, she can file the defense petition, get the order of protection, have it to internal affairs. They can serve it to me and have all of these pieces of their fraudulent investigation in place right before I go into the doctor's office.
Right.
But there's only one problem. This particular day was President's Day. The court was closed. So now what's Mueller going to do? Well, he can either wave the white flag on trying to get this order of protection worked into the doctor's report, or he can cancel the appointment, wait for her to go to court the next day, and then reschedule the appointment for the day after that, right? So that's what he did because he's Mueller and he doesn't take his foot off the pedal, okay? He's the clown-faced creep. He's completely out of his mind. We've been over this 1,000 times. So,
right.
So,
but he's also got a mission, right? I mean, he's not just that he's got his foot on the pedal, but he's also now he's put this plan into action. He just has to follow through.
yeah, I guess so. Sink or swim, right? So, because it's President's Day and she can't get to the court to file the family offense petition, and I have to go for this appointment later in the day, he cancels it, right? The next day, she files the petition. She gets the order of protection, gives it to internal affairs. They come to my house in the afternoon. Now, the original appointment was on the 12th. We're now on the 13th. She goes on the morning of the 13th, files it, gets the order of protection. They bring it to me in the afternoon. Okay, I see now that I'm being kept away from my daughter. That's how far this sick son of a bitch took it. Okay, because he's got to sell the idea that all these people think I'm crazy.
Right. So they canceled the appointment so that way they can get the court, the petition from your mother's child. So that way, when you went to the appointment, they would have that because they didn't have it in time. So that's what is going on.
If I go for the appointment anyway on the 12th and she doesn't file it to the 13th, it's of no use to the doctor.
Right. So
he can't use something against me that came into existence after the evaluation.
Right. No, we get that. I think so. So now that you get get to the appointment, right? Now they reschedule the appointment, and you go
they
on that day.
reschedule the appointment, right? So he gets the order of protection up to this quackery clinic, okay? This fraud of a clinic.
IMA clinic,
right? He gets it up there on the 13th. Then I get a text from Glenn Caserta. He texts me an image of my new appointment. It's for the next day, the 14th, right? Now all the pieces are in place. So I go in, whatever, the fix is in. We went over the report, right? Okay, total fraud. And
just really quick, you're not the only individual that has one of these reports that's in the situation or been put through the situation that you're going through, and from different departments and stuff. So I've seen those reports and heard about other ones. Just let people know.
Sure, absolutely. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to get this in is because there are things going on with other people who work for the city, and we really got to, we got to do everything we possibly can to expose this clinic because what's going on with it is blaringly obvious.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that at some point, about legal actions and stuff like that, and what's happening with that stuff, because I know there was a time constraint here.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Let me finish the story. So when Glenn Caserta calls me later in the day on the 12th, February 12th, this was the day of the original appointment. Mueller gets word that I just came to a house and that she has to go the next day to file the family offense petition because it's President's Day and the courts are closed. So he cancels the appointment and he has Glenn Caserta call me to tell me that the clinic canceled the appointment. I said, okay, why? He gave me some nonsense about they couldn't accommodate you today or something. I don't know. He goes, I got this email in front of me. He says that to me. I got this email in front of me. It's from that's from the clinic. They're telling me that they can't accommodate you today or something. I don't know. And I said, okay, all right. I smelled a rat. I called Ray Montero. I told Ray Montero what was going on. He said, no. That's Mueller. This is what he does. He did something similar with him when they sent Ray for a psychological evaluation. The difference at the time was it was Chucky was the commissioner, and Chucky probably spoke to the doctor and said, "I want to see John Mueller get sued. Please pass this guy and send him back to work." Right, because Chucky hated those guys. But now it's Mueller as the commissioner. So I called the clinic. Long story short, I talked to Ray Montero. I talked to my own attorney, and I called the clinic, and I record the conversation. Right, I had sent it to you before today's podcast. It's 3 minutes long or something like that. I don't think we need to play it. We've played it before. Okay. The important point is that the woman on the other end of the phone, the receptionist up at this clinic, told me exactly what I knew I was going to hear, which is why I was recording it. The department canceled at 9:59 this morning. Gave me the time to the minute. Right. Okay. That was less than an hour after she had gone to the family court, or she had gone to the family court to try to file the petition. She found out that it was closed because it was President's Day. Right.
So he called and canceled it.
Right. And then, but here's the thing. The reason that we're going to show the document that we're going to show tonight, right, and the reason I'm repeating some of this stuff is because this clinic is not a place where John Mueller has just gotten to know the doctors and they've agreed to do him some favors and they got their hand out under the table. The problem with this clinic is not the doctors. It's the entire clinic. It goes all the way up to the administrators. Okay. Now, what he realized, Mueller, even before he knew I had a recording, right, when he's in real time while he's piecing this thing together, what he realizes is that this timeline is going to look awfully suspicious. Anthony gets a call saying the clinic canceled. The next day, his daughter's mother is up at family court filing an offense petition, getting an order of protection against him when she couldn't do it the day before because it was President's Day. And then the following day, the appointment is rescheduled. That looks awfully fishy. So if you're John Mueller, what would you love to have? What would you love to have? You'd love to have something from the clinic saying that they were the ones who canceled, right?
Right.
You'd love to have a fraudulent email, a fraudulent.
Well, I mean, the fact that the mother of your child went and did this when all this is happening, you know what I mean, and you're now being sent to the IMA, that looks suspicious in itself. After all this time, you guys, because you said you guys would go back and forth on text messages, and you guys had that type of relationship where you were, you know, kind of talk a little rough to each other, right? And nothing. But now that you're being sent to this clinic, that's when she decides to go.
Right. So the timeline in and of itself is very suspicious.
Yeah.
What would be awesome is if you had someone high ranking at that clinic, not a doctor, an administrator, who was willing to lie for you, go on the record lying, saying, we canceled that appointment.
Right.
Okay. And because the corruption at this clinic goes so high, he was able to do just that. Do you want to show the document first, or do you want to pull up this woman's picture?
Well, I don't have her picture.
Well, it's on the internet.
I don't want to get sued.
Oh, these people aren't coming after you. They're coming nowhere near this situation. Believe me.
Hold on, let me. Oh wait, I haven't. Well, let me look. Let's show the. I'm going to show the document because I have to look for a picture first, and
okay,
you can do this.
So that top part there is just that top part there is just a continuation of what was on the previous page. It was like a transcription of some text messages that she and I had sent to each other that morning. Nothing juicy in there, believe me.
Start here.
That's the paragraph you got to look at, right?
All right.
Go ahead.
So on Wednesday, February 12, 2020, the undersigned supervisor received an email correspondence from Lieutenant Glenn Caserta and Barbara Young, who is the Vice President of Business Development with the IMA Group. Oh, okay. So that's how she develops business, right? Young advised Lieutenant Caserta that based on the totality of the information the IMA Group had received about Lieutenant DiMaggio, that they canceled the exam that was scheduled on this date. Young explained that the exam would go beyond the scope of services they provide. Oh, interesting that she says that, actually, as it was more forensic in nature. Lieutenant Caserta then spoke to Young via telephone and communicated via email, where Young was eventually able to produce a provider, Dr. Sia, how you say that? Shaikh, to conduct the exam on Friday, February 14, 2020. Lieutenant DiMaggio was notified by Lieutenant Caserta of the canceled appointment. Should I go on?
No, you can stop there because that's other people can read that other stuff for themselves. That's just nonsense about, you know, he had the Gestapo, what I call them, the SIU guys, the black shirts. He had them go up and put on this whole big show. Oh, get her a hotel room because you know, he's showing up at her house unannounced and she might be in danger, and get her a radio from the sheriff's department and all this stuff. And the guy is, how's the saying go? Crazier than a shithouse rat or something like, I don't know. The guy is off his rocker. Okay, he's completely wasting department resources putting on this elaborate show to try to make it look like Anthony DiMaggio is dangerous. Why? Because I brought my own attorney to internal affairs, and he's a one-strike loser already. Remember the Ray Montero situation? He's already.
Do you happen to know? I'm sorry, not to get how much they pay this IMA clinic? How much these these
for a 25-minute evaluation, it can't be all that much.
Just wonder how much they've spent over time.
No,
I'm sure there's got to be some other added expense for.
But so you just read it for yourself. That's straight out of the Internal Affairs reports. That is the Internal Affairs Division putting a phony narrative, acknowledging a fake email. It's a real email. It existed. I don't have a copy of it. They left it out of the reports. And then now we're going to look at, if you can pull them up, we'll list some text messages between myself and Glenn Caserta where he tells me that he deleted them. he deleted that email. This is right when they were about to fire me, and I'm telling him, Glenn, I need a copy of that email. The emails are you tell me which emails are the emails with the IMA clinic would be incredibly helpful in my efforts to keep my job. Department policy may only entitle me to certain things.
Sorry, didn't mean to actually do that.
Department policy may only entitle me to certain things, but I believe that the civil practice laws and rules give me a right. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm just, throwing this out there to him. Any correspondence between the department and the email pertaining to me is something that I should be able to have a look at. And I was actually told that by the attorneys. So if they're talking about me and my appointment in that email, I should be looking at it.
Right.
I should be able to review.
So you're asking for that email. Was she?
Right.
Okay. Should I go to the next one?
Now, Glenn is, like a typical scamster. Glenn's been taught not to scam on the phone, not to talk about, touchy, sensitive, fraudulent situations on the telephone. So, Anthony, give me a call.
Right.
You can go to the next one.
Yeah, I don't know if that not that. Anthony, give me a call. Yeah.
Right. No calls, Glenn. I'm fighting for my career here, pal. I need everything in writing. Okay. I can email you a copy of your complete file, or you can come by and pick it up. All right. I already had the damn file, my medical file, everything I need. I already had everything in it I already needed. It was just this one email that I knew they weren't going to give it to me. No way. Because they knew I had this recording. And I knew that they had almost certainly deleted it. I just wanted him to say it. And he didn't disappoint me. So I said, does it contain the email correspondence with Barbara Young? You can go to the next one.
No, that's not it, right? Hold on.
No, there was one more email.
Yeah.
There was one more text.
Yeah, I got it here. It's the way that this And
this stuff might be a little bit boring.
Is that it there?
Especially, yeah. So he says, no, a lot of that correspondence was with IAD. I was courtesy copied on some, but I deleted them a long time ago. Now he's saying here that the email basically was sent to IAD and he was courtesy copied. In the internal affairs reports, it's internal affairs saying that they were given copies of emails between Barbara Young and Glenn Caserta.
And he deleted them.
So right, they can't even keep their narrative together. Now, why would they delete that? Why would they not give that to me? It's this woman's word against mine and the recording that I have with the receptionist of her telling me that the department canceled. There are two competing narratives. Actually, there are three competing narratives because the doctor gave another BS reason in his report. But who's the court going to believe? The timeline events with my recording, or the word of a known evidence fabricator like John Mueller and this woman, Barbara Young?
Depends who the judge is.
Well, I guess that does too. But I mean, Occam's razor. The simplest explanation for a thing is usually the correct one.
Right.
So, knowing that I have this recording with the receptionist telling me that the department canceled, if they go ahead and produce this email and give it to me and it ends up in a courtroom someday, all it's going to do is get Barbara Young into a lot of trouble too. I think they realize that. So that email is, Hillary Clinton. Yeah.
IAD didn't have the email. You can get a copy.
If they did not include it in the internal affairs reports
because he says he was just CC'd. So on those emails, so other people have received them also. So they should have someone should have a copy that was included in that email.
If they have it somewhere, they're hiding it. I'll probably never see it. At the very least, they're gonna have to explain why they deleted it. But what's going on couldn't be any clearer. This clinic, the corruption goes all the way to the top. All right.
Yeah, and I hear that there's also, some. I mean, these what are the psychologists that do these reports and stuff like that? I mean, the report that you had, I read that, and I knew just from my understanding, and I know I've shown other people that are in that field, and they said that's crazy. Other attorneys have said that's crazy from other people that have shown them the paper reports, but also an audio hearing what they've been saying in these exams or appointments or these evaluations, right? So there's some stuff going on there. I think those guys are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, when we first started podcasting about it, which was coming up on a year ago. That was August. It was in August of last year. People were watching. The city already had similar schemes going with other people in the city, and these people seeing the podcast, they, I'm not hard to get in touch with. Just send me a message on Facebook. Anybody who's out there working for the city who has something lined up with this clinic, you got to get in touch with me, because I've helped a number of people in extraordinary ways already. All right, guy from DPW that we both know. I've been in contact with him a lot, and he's got some extraordinary things going. I mean, he's well prepared because I had been basically talking to him and coaching him on everything that was going to happen.
Right.
And he took the proper steps.
Yeah, he said,
to help himself.
It was a fortunate thing that he was able to speak to you first before he went for his
1,000%.
appointment.
1,000%. So I don't know. You don't want to show that woman's picture, right?
No, I mean, well,
yeah.
Barbara Young from the Iron Man.
Yeah, I'll post it. I'll post a picture on my page. So that was the important thing that I got to get out there about the clinic, because that's their purging device. They, it ties in a little bit to the article about the nepotism. I know that you had showed that, and Mayor Spano had come out and given a rebuttal. He said, I have a big family and it's not right to exclude them from jobs and all this stuff. And okay, that's fair enough. The fact that they hold positions in and of itself is not per se a problem. What is a problem is how they use those positions to create a network whereby they collude to purge the city of any dissenters, to keep in place a culture of fear. Don't say that. The guy's got friends and family all over the place, or don't complain. Don't make a complaint. You end up at the clinic. Right. And they network with each other from within all of these different departments, for political purposes. That's the real problem. And that's just saying it lightly. We're getting into some other things tonight. But that's really, it's the clinic ties into the nepotism, and it ties into the way that they try to eliminate anybody who is, when I say eliminate, I just mean terminate or severely punish anybody who complains about any of the things that they see these people doing wrong in the workplace. Yeah. That's been the pattern. So.
And it's not just, and it's not just family, people that are related to the Spanos or what, it's even people that are maybe, friends, or they feel like they owe a favor, or they just want to be a part of this circle. Maybe they're not even a part of the circle. Sometimes people do just take it upon themselves to do things, maybe because they feel like that's going to score them some brownie points or something. But it's, you're right. Like you said, it's a lot of different people within departments, but it's not like Spano relatives. A lot of times, it'd be other people, and they'll do these things, and they'll kind of,
friends, right.
Yeah, they'll click up and stuff. And and they're doing it because they want to score brownie points. I'm saying, so it is for political reasons. Because my wife, I'll just be honest, she's experiencing or has experienced this, recently and stuff, because of people, I guess because I do my podcast or whatever, and I speak on what I speak on, but she has nothing to do with it. But she has a target on her back because of that. It's unfortunate.
Right. And when they start acting, when they start doing things like that, that's that's an indicator that they're starting to feel nervous and a little bit desperate, because they like to keep the mentality of, we're not going to mess with families and things like that, people who have nothing to do with it. But when they actually break their own rules and start doing it, that's when they get nervous.
Well, I mean, it's definitely it's definitely a nonsense thing, and I don't want to talk too much about it out of respect for her and the stuff, but
I understand.
It's just when I heard, I was like, what's this? Okay, all right, well, no problem. Either way, we'll be all right.
Yeah, well, keep fighting the good fight, bro.
Yeah. So and I'm just, look, I mean, I like I said, I would like to see you and see you with your situation and get to a point where you are satisfied with the resolution, right? Sooner than later, and I'm sure you would too, right? I would like to see Danny's, because I believe Danny. I do believe Danny and what he's saying. And I would like to see him get his, resolution that he's, and obviously we can't all, be asking for, crazy things, but there is things that, should be done. Maybe not a public apology, Danny, but maybe a private one or something. But, and I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just saying in general, but I think I would like to see that, right, more so than anything else. That's just me. I would like to see, our schools get paid attention to, people in the community that need things get paid attention to, that's the biggest number one thing for me, right? So, I'm not, and I say this, and I people say, oh, he's probably hanging out with Vinny Spano, but it's just that, my biggest concern is just, what I care about, seeing people, like the woman I'm trying to help, get these cars towed away, just to see that taken care of. You know what I mean? Just when people, need help, to actually help them, and I think people would care less about everything else. But so that's ultimately what I want to see. And that's why, I wanted you to come back on the podcast, also because I care about your situation, Anthony, regardless of one. I'd like to see a resolution, a good resolution for you.
Yeah, well, the more sunlight, the better.
Yeah, I'm trying to be sunny these days.
Right. Danny, I know he's watching. I finally had my fill with Danny the other day. He and I can't talk to him anymore. He had given me some good stuff that would have been great to show, but he tries to attach conditions to it. Well, you can't show that unless you also say this, this, and that. And
Danny has a, he and this is the thing about people's realities, right? And this is, I think, and in Yonkers too, it's like, this is why sometimes people may hear what I say and be like, no, you're this guy's crazy. How could he say that? Because they have a different experience, right? With certain individuals,
No, I understand.
And so I think, and not to go too much into Danny's stuff, but I think his issue is that he feels like, since maybe you were, had a good relationship with some of the people he may be talking about, that you're unwilling to, agree that, what they did was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't believe it.
Well, given the facts of the situation, I could see why he might believe that, okay, because he's emotional about the situation, but it's just not the case. And let me explain it, okay? When I met with Danny, he had been watching the first few podcasts, and this was, again,
and just really quick, Danny Sullivan is a man, a city resident who had drugs planted on him, and this was before Mike Spano's time, actually. But he was wrongly, arrested and charged with possession of crack, and they planted it on him, and they said he swallowed it. But when he went to the hospital and they did the exams, he had nothing. And and point is that he showed the document. He's proved that it was all bogus, and he's looking for his resolution is, I'm sorry, get this off my record. I don't deserve it. It cost him a job, a good job. You know what I mean? And this is, not okay. This is what I mean.
Well,
and that's unfair.
Right.
That's what I like to see.
Well, when I first started talking to him, he was very persistent, reaching out to me. I didn't know who he was, so I was kind of ignoring him a little bit. He was coming out with these what I thought were crazy accusations. He comes to me, and we're talking on Facebook now. Originally.
We all have crazy accusations, but they're real.
Right. Well, to me, they sound crazy because most of the cops that he's talking about, did not have that reputation inside the police department, right? I can't say for a fact whether something happened or it didn't, because I wasn't there. Maybe it did happen. Right. They didn't have that reputation. They had never been in trouble for doing anything like the things that he's saying they did before. I wasn't there for any of it. So he's wanting me to come on and repeat basically things that he's saying that he has absolutely no evidence of. And not even like well, because listen, you say you had certain cops that you were hearing things about in the street. The cops he's naming, I never heard any of that about. I'm obviously Louis Venturino, I did, because he comes from a crew of perennial evidence fabricators. Okay, but I didn't. When I met with him for the first time, I met him in the parking lot of the Dunkin' Donuts over next to the 3rd precinct. I think it was like last October or something, and I didn't know what he had. He said, I'm going to show you something. I said, fine. So he showed me documents, and we showed those on, I think, the 5th or 6th or 7th podcast that we did together or whatever, right? The report that Louis Venturino wrote,
right?
The toxicology report proving that he didn't have a damn thing in his stomach. But when I met him, I didn't know what he had. He showed it to me, and I said, okay, he's actually got paperwork on Louis Venturino. Everybody else, he's really only got stories about. Sometimes he actually alludes to that he might have more. But when I say show me, he doesn't. He said, I'm not showing everybody everything.
Well, I
said, okay, well, dude, you can't, if you want me to help you, I'll repeat what you're saying that you can back up with evidence. that you can give to me to show on the podcast.
Well, he was
you're not
charged with
gonna give me
tampering
any-
with evidence, right? He was charged with
Who was?
tampering, Danny, for swallowing the crack.
I don't think
Supposedly, quote unquote, that he didn't actually swallow crack. There was
he
no.
was charged. He was charged with felony possession of crack cocaine, and on the advice of his attorney, he pled to a misdemeanor because what the attorney said to him is, "Dude, this is going to be your word versus the cops." Okay, and that's usually a losing situation for.
But there's a report where they
Person on
wrote that
trial.
he swallowed the crack. He swallowed.
Yes, Louis Venturino wrote that report.
Right, and
Signed
he
it.
didn't swallow crack.
And no, he didn't swallow crack. And then Louis went to court and signed the felony complaint. Okay, that's a crime because it says right on the bottom. It's not exactly perjury, but they call it perjury light. It's making a false something. I got to look in 210.
Well, we know that, you know, and again, a lot has changed, right? But we know that back in the days, this was done, especially around that time when this happened to Danny. And I was just remembering a time when I was in the park with my cousin, and another guy, and they searched the guy. He said, "I got weed on me." This was before, you can have weed on you. And he had 9 bags, and it was a short cop with a ponytail, right? A uniform cop, short ponytail, and he took the weed and left. So I always wondered what he would do with that. And so that's, sometimes they take that stuff from other people and then put it, onto somebody else. So, and I just, the point of it is that I would like to see Danny have an apology. I would like to see that off his record because he doesn't deserve it. And, it really did kind of changed the trajectory a little bit of his life, and I'm sure this is something that he looks back on like, damn, what if, this hadn't happened and then I could have had this opportunity, but I didn't, you know what I mean? So maybe I'm just, I'm married to a social worker.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'd love to see justice for Danny. Okay. But the only thing he's shown me evidence of is what he has against Louis Venturino. And he has a video of Mueller trying to cover it up. Now, to him, I can see why it looks like, oh, well, you have beef with these guys too. So you just want to cherry pick that and show it on Freddie. I can understand why it looks like that to him, but that's not what's going on. I've said, bro, if you have any evidence to, tending to prove the stuff that you're saying about these other cops, show it to me.
Right.
And he doesn't. So I said, what do you want me to do? I'm not just going to go repeat things that you want repeated without evidence. But he sees it his way. And, I said that video is great for you to show with Mueller. He's trying to talk to Mueller and
Tony Solari just came on. I know that he wanted to say some stuff, and I know you want to get into an update on CJ Hackett. The case for people who may not know, CJ Hackett, 16-year-old boy who was killed while riding a scooter on McLean by a city employee who was driving drunk. Right. And again, I mentioned I did a post where I said, was the Hackett family offered $1 million? Was the city van was the van that Stephen Dolan driving a city van? These were questions. I didn't say they sold out. I wasn't saying anything negative about them. And the point was, and I had put another post, was just to show a pattern of behavior and things that they do. They try to, quiet people, maybe sometimes by offering them money, or they'll settle just, because they have to settle, in the court, and how much money that costs to city taxpayers and stuff, because ultimately that's taxpayer money. And so that was the point. And I think some people took offense to it. So I just want to clear that up so we don't really rehash it.
Well, I have some pretty good sources on this case, and I haven't heard anything like that. I think that would be, I don't know who you heard from, but whatever. I don't think that would be very unwise of them to try to do something like that, because Yvonne Hackett and Chris Hackett Sr. are so pissed off, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no.
That God forbid they turned around and reported something like that. You know what I mean?
Maybe not like that, but maybe there was some some legal way of doing, like saying, there was some maybe things that whatever, I don't know, maybe their lawyers talk something out. That's all I was just saying. If this is something that they're looking to work out, but it's not true. It's not true. And I posed it in question form. I didn't say it was a fact, Right. But we know that this stuff happens, right? We know that they try to, people have been quieted with money and stuff like that. So, and that ultimately
you would tend to think also that if like say they had offered the Hackett's some sort of a bribe, which I don't think happened.
Well, I don't want to call it a bribe because it's. I mean, ultimately, if there was some stuff that was done, by the city, right, and some negligence on their part, and there is a lawsuit, against the city, they're going to win money, right? So it's not, bribe, it's a settlement.
I would imagine so. Well, yeah, under the table settlement.
Or
But
just
usually,
you know, out of court
uh,
settlement.
so you think that this might have actually been done legally with paperwork and
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm at. That's why I was saying, because this is
no,
what, you know, so that's
yeah.
just me.
Well, you know, look, the thing is that Yvonne is just one problem. If they want to keep something quiet, right, they need more than just Yvonne and Chris Hackett Sr. to be quiet about it. They need me to be quiet about it. And they need Tony Solieri to be quiet about it. And they need you to be quiet about it. Okay, so what good does it really do them if Yvonne and Chris Sr. are quiet about it? Because I got sources on the case, and they give me information all the time. And I'm not going to be quiet about it. So they still have a problem with Anthony DiMaggio, and they know they're not going to bribe me.
Yeah, no,
So,
definitely.
I mean,
you
it's
know, but you're back on.
right.
It's been a while before we had any updates, and I
right.
know there was a meeting that was, you know, had happened, and this was maybe about a month ago now.
I think there was a couple of meetings. Yeah, I spoke to Tony. I had taken some notes, and because they called him down or whatever, he ended up down there talking to Cognatello, and I think he was talking to the Chiefs again too. And by the way, apparently you and I get paid for doing these podcasts.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, did you know that? I said, let me find out. Freddie is
who told
won't
you
even
that?
take me out for a steak dinner, huh?
Who told you that? I wish.
No, the Chiefs told Tony Solieri that.
Yeah, you know, and somebody today I found out that told the family of the 19-year-old boy that died that I had said that he was killed because his family were gang members, and I never said that.
I don't think I've been watching.
I'm wondering who's saying these things. No, you know, that's bad. But no, and Tony Solieri says, "And don't even go down that road. No money will ever be enough to make us sell CJ out."
No,
and it's not about selling CJ out, or it's about a settlement, right? Because in these type of civil matters, wrongful deaths, or you know, or negligence or whatever, you know, you go to court. There's a settlement, right? So I mean, people who get a settlement for a loss of a family member, you know, that's not necessarily selling that person out. That's just you settled. You know, you took.
So in other words, you had gotten information from somebody that they might be settling, willing to settle.
That it might have been offered, not that they took it. It was never that they took money.
Okay,
I didn't say they. I didn't say that. Right. Yeah, I didn't say the Hackett family took $1 million. I said that they offered $1 million. You know, it was a question.
I think Yvonne is watching tonight, actually.
Yeah, so I want to apologize if I upset her, you know, because it's not my intention. And even if I wasn't trying to intentionally do that, I want to apologize because that's not what I want to do. But I had been hearing that maybe they made the attempt, or they offered, you know, to kind of, you know, keep them quiet. Obviously, they're not going to take any money, right? But I was wondering, there was an offer made.
Well, why don't we talk about some things that we can?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me the
say
update.
for sure happened, right? So I spoken to Tony Solieri. He had gone to meet with the Chiefs, where they gave him some nonsense. Maybe he can. I don't remember exactly everything that was said at that meeting because he said it was short, and I don't have any notes about it. But then he met, I think, like a few nights later or something, with Anthony Cognatello late night, and Yvonne went also. He and Yvonne went to visit Cognatello while he was working the late tour, the midnight shift.
Yeah, I thought that was so inconsiderate. I think they went at like 1:00 in the morning or something. Yeah, I thought that was very inconsiderate.
Well, if that's what he's working, he would be starting at midnight, which is the same shift that he was working the night that this happened.
But they can't make accommodations to, you know, I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm sure. But the way Tony described it to me, it was like Cognatello was kind of like, good. I'm glad to hear it, Yvonne.
Yeah, I got to put that out. I don't want to make it like I'm not, you know, then people. I only met one time with the principal and 2 deans.
With
the other meeting was.
Tom, why don't you call in? You're gonna call in? Can he call in?
Yes.
You want to do that, Tom?
Let's see if that'll work. Well, go ahead. Give the update, and then we'll do that.
Oh, well, there's a lot of updates.
Well, go ahead. Finish what you're going to do, because I don't have.
So Cognatello, you know, you had posted a while back. Oh, now they had a license plate. Now they're telling the Solieris and the Hacketts that they did in fact have a license plate at some point. You know, because we've been talking about this. We did a long pod about it, you and I. And we followed up on it a couple of times, and then you were speaking on it. You had Carolyn call in, and Tony called in, so
Right.
a lot of attention to it. And I've been repeatedly calling for the brass and for the detectives who were involved in the case, and to just give details instead of just calling them down and telling them, oh, don't listen to Anthony and Freddie because they're disgruntled, which Cognatello did again apparently. But anyway, apparently they're actually making an effort to try to come up with some details now. Almost a year later after this thing. And finally giving the family some details about what was happening during all of that time, 36 or so, 38 hours or so, immediately following the accident, where I've told you and everybody else what should have been happening. Now they're trying to actually provide some details of what actually was happening.
So what are they saying?
So apparently, Cognatello worked for 20 hours or so. Starting from the beginning of his shift that night. He worked, the accident happened, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the shift. And he was on the case from the beginning. And he worked tirelessly for damn near a full day and then went home. And was apparently relieved the following morning, the 4th, by a detective named Tim McMenamin. Now, I know McMenamin a little bit, not really. He was an anti-crime cop on the east side of town. I think he worked plainclothes in the first precinct before becoming a detective. Usually you need steam to become a detective. I don't know if he has steam, but the detective division does reserve a small number of spots, X amount of spots for people who are basically good cops, workhorses. Because let's face it, somebody's got to do the work down there, right? There is work that has to get done. You can only have so many steamboats sitting around doing nothing.
Right.
Shit canning jobs at crime scenes, but someone actually has to do the work. So
what happened?
Tim McMenamin is one of these good cops. Right. And Anthony Cognatello credits him, Tim McMenamin, with finding the plate reader, finding the plate number from Stephen Dolan's plate, from Stephen Dolan's van, excuse me, sometime on the morning of August 4th, which was, again, 30, what time did they say they pulled the plate? I thought I had written down an exact time that they pulled the plate out of the plate reader, but it was some time where it was, once again, just enough time for Stephen Dolan to basically sober up. Right. And my question to Cognatello would be like, well, what the hell were you doing? Why were you not looking through the license plate readers? Because there are license plate readers that what they do is they scan all the plates that go by them, right? They're connected to the DMV system. And so if Freddie Vasquez has a suspended license plate and then drives past one of the license plate readers, it'll pop.
Yeah, okay? I know.
I used to, right. Yeah, so I used to drive, once in a while I would drive the radio cars, the marked radio cars that have this equipment on the back of them. They look like cameras that stick out at a 45-degree angle from the trunk.
Yeah,
if you're driving around, then it's not always on. You have to turn the software on. And the equipment, you have to turn it on.
Right.
Okay, if it's not on, it's never going to make a noise.
Right.
It's not functioning. But if you turn it on and you what?
No, you said if it's not on, it's not functioning. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The obvious. But if you do have it on and you're driving around and a suspended or revoked plate or something, or sometimes I think they could even put in what they call bolos. Be on the lookout for this plate, and if you pass that plate, it'll pop and noise goes off, let you know, and then boom, the plate picture of it pops up right on the computer screen in the radio car. So that's on the radio car. They also have them affixed to poles throughout the city, and apparently after Stephen Dolan struck CJ, he just kept driving around. He
trying to figure out what to do.
Right. Well, he didn't do what most people who flee at the scene of that kind of an accident would do, is they find a place to get off the road. The car goes to a chop shop, or it goes hidden in a garage somewhere. It's going to get spray painted. Well, he just maybe he was just so drunk out of his mind that he just kept driving around looking for a party. And what was happening was that his plate was popping on plate readers. On Bronx River Road is the plate reader where they actually pulled his plate out of. Okay. Now that's not hard to do. There are only X amount of plate readers in the area. So again, it's not that I'm saying that didn't happen. What I'm saying is, why did it take so long?
Right.
It would have been one of the first things you did. You would have checked all of the city cameras and the license plate readers in the area. Because like they've been telling the Soliaries and the hackers from the very beginning, they had a quote unquote very good description of the vehicle. So if you have a very good description of a vehicle, of a van that's a certain dark color with an off-color door, okay, how many of those are driving around on McLean Avenue past midnight on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or whatever night the accident was on? It's not exactly rush hour, so It's not like you're going to see 100 of these vans over there in that area.
Oh,
so you're looking through the cameras, you're looking through the license. Yeah,
that's the biggest. That's the thing that everyone's saying. Why wasn't this, a car identified right away? It should have been identified right away.
I mean that. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And they had that new Motorola system, right? Installed at the time.
I don't know what kind of system it was, but if Anthony Cognatello is coming right out of his mouth and telling Tony Solieri that they got the plate off of a plate reader, okay, then according to some of my sources, various sources, because I don't say this stuff without getting it from at least a couple of different sources. The detective division put the plate information, gave the plate information to the dispatcher, at or about 10 o'clock in the morning on August 4th, which was, a full 36, 38 hours after the accident. 32 hours after the accident.
32?
I think it happened a little after 12, so 10 would be, so about 34 hours, So there was a several hours lapse between when McMenamin located the plate number on the license plate reader and when the detective division called the plate up to the dispatchers to be put over the radio. In other words, telling the whole city, be on the lookout for this plate. For this, and then they put out the plate. The dispatchers will put out the plate. They'll put out the description on the van, and they'll tell every uniformed cop working in the city over the radio to be on the lookout for that plate. I don't know why that took so long, but then within an hour and a half or so of them putting the plate out on the radio, McCormick finds it. Within an hour and a half.
Lieutenant McCormick.
Okay. When I talk to cops about the situation, active and retired cops, I don't like to say, we chuckle at it. Obviously, a 16-year-old kid lost his life, so it's not a laughing matter. What we chuckle at is the idea that they couldn't have caught him sooner, and watching them scramble like idiots to try to put out the fire, of people demanding answers, them not being able to come up with them taking weeks or months in between these meetings with the Solieris, where they meet with them and then offer up minimal details that don't even really make a whole lot of sense. They didn't after every one of these meetings, Tony says he comes out with more questions than he went in with.
Let me ask you this, Anthony. That night, and you said, what was this? The police, Cognatello, right? He was the the detective that night on duty, right? He was the one that was going to be the lead detective investigating this that night.
Right.
Okay. So as soon as this happens, right, and a 911 call is put in, and police get to the scene, and they rush the boy to the hospital. They notice no one's there. They know this is a hit and run. What happens? What's the first thing that happens?
Well,
from the police point of view,
you will rope off a large section of the street where the accident happened.
Right.
You'll tie it off with the police tape.
Well, let me just that's but I mean, like, in terms of finding out who the person that hit this boy is. What's the first thing they're gonna do?
Okay, witnesses, cameras, license plate readers. Those are the things that have to be canvassed. Canvass means you have to look for them. Right. Witnesses. Are there any witnesses at the scene? Did they get a plate? Did they get a description of the vehicle? Okay. Then you have the city cameras. Those they have immediate access to on their cell phones. We've been over that. Now they have the license plate readers, the dispatchers. Everybody can access those pretty easily too. And apparently that's how they found the plate.
So
34 hours later.
Right. So you're saying that that's part of the protocol. Look through the plate readers. The plate readers did pick up the van, so they should have had it. How quickly should they have had that plate, you think? Knowing that the plate reader picked up the plate.
Depending on how quickly they can access, the dispatchers, to my knowledge, can access it immediately. Okay, they can access it right up from the radio room. the detectives might also be able to do it from their phone. But if you're a detective working the case, or say like see me, I was a. There are some patrol lieutenants, patrol supervisors. You won't find them all night. God knows where they are.
Right.
Who knows what's going on? Me, I wasn't like that. I would have been there, and I would have been, telling the detectives, what can we do? Can we help? And if they weren't giving me answers, I would have just picked a patrol cop or two and give them an assignment that I thought might be helpful.
Right.
I would say, you guys, you're down for a few hours. Go up to the radio room, work with the dispatchers, see if you can find plates off the
plate reader, right?
The LPRs, right? Go look at the city cameras with the dispatchers.
So
Look through it, see what you can,
But just on average, right?
You're up against the clock, because if you're dealing with a drunk driver, you got to get to him before he sobers up, so you can get the evidence.
Right. So how long you think though? It should take no longer than what? Maybe a half hour, an hour to get the plate if it was picked up by plate readers.
No, look, if there's a few plate readers in the area, the thing is, when the accident happened, and where it happened. Okay.
Right.
So from that point, you start looking through the license plate readers in the immediate vicinity, and you work your way outwards. Okay. If there's a license plate reader in front of Rory Dolan's, you'll start with that one. Then you'll work outwards towards Bronx River Road.
So where's the first?
So it may take an hour or.
Do you know what the closest plate reader to the scene was? Do you have that information?
I don't know where they are off the top of my head.
They do have I'm not sure which, I forget. They do have a ticket, the camera light or light camera at that intersection of McLean and Central Park Avenue. I know that.
Oh,
I don't know if those pick up the plates all the time.
They might. Those red light cameras, they do more than just snap you for red lights. They
do video,
record stuff, and right.
I know.
So, but okay, so here was what Cognatello. Where's Tony? I want to make sure that I'm getting this all right. I'm pretty sure I am, because I spoke to him when he was on vacation a few days after this meeting, and then I spoke to him about a week ago or so. Okay, all right, Tony. So apparently Tony had asked Cognatello a question like that. Like, why was it so hard? Why did it take so long?
Right.
Why was it so hard to to find the plate in the license plate reader and then identify the vehicle? And Cognatello gave him some silly answer about there being 3 or 4 vans matching the description that basically that the license plate reader was showing, right, in that area. So before they could definitively identify the one that was involved in the accident, they had to go out and canvass the area for cameras and footage, and they couldn't go after the specific plate, the right plate, until they knew which one it was by watching continuous footage of the vehicle basically hitting Christopher, and then following it until the point where it went off on the plate reader or something like that.
Well,
so I mean, continuous footage.
I'm not a police officer, obviously. Right? I've never been one, and I don't want to tell police officers how to do their job or detectives. But wouldn't you just go to the homes of all 3 of those vans,
all of them,
right away, and we'll find out right then and there?
All of them. And when Tony's telling me the story, I said exactly what you just said, and you never did a day as a cop.
No, I mean, I just common sense. I would think that let's just find out right away that way. Right? It's just save time.
I said, Tony, I would have. He said, I'm trying to believe this guy, Cognatello, because he's not a bad guy.
Right.
But I said to Tony, I said, dude.
Go ahead. Yeah.
What is it determined?
Yeah. Do you know if those cameras, the Con Edison substation that were right there?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, actually, they were. They were functioning. Well, they were up. I don't know if they were functioning.
I know they were there.
They were up.
I don't know.
They were there.
They have to be functioning. I mean, Con Ed doesn't mess around with security.
Con Ed also has close ties to Yonkers, right? Doing a lot of work here.
Sure. But I said to him, this is the first thing I said to him. I said, Tone, look, if I was the patrol lieutenant that night, and I worked the midnight shift, so I very well may have been, if I was still on the job. I said I would have just took a couple of radio cars, and say it was like a 2-man car. I would have took a 2-man unit, split the 2 guys up, or maybe just not even done that. I would have just kept them together, and I would have took 3 or 4 cars, police cars, units, and I would have sent them to the different addresses as long as they were within Yonkers.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it was, close by in the Bronx, I would have called. I forget what precinct is over there, Woodlawn.
No, you get the NYPD
said,
to
listen,
check them
we
out.
need a little help. We got a potential fatality, hit and run accident over here. We got an address that comes back to Woodlawn. We need someone to sit on that house and see if that van pulls up, even without knowing whether or not it's the actual van we're looking for. But if there's 3 or 4 of them, you want to find those vans and see what's going on, right? You don't have to wait to find, to canvas and look all over the neighborhood a day and a half to find continuous footage from the scene to the license plate reader. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to take advantage of the fact that these people don't know police work. And they're selling them nonsense narratives. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear an explanation that I could just say, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That must be the way that they did it. That's what happened. I haven't heard it yet.
Well, I know.
Why would this detective, who's working for 18, 20 hours before he went home, why could he not find the license plate in the license plate reader?
Right.
And then the guy came in, fresh, the next morning and found it within a couple of hours. I mean, come on, dude. Doesn't pass the smell test.
Well, this can't happen again because we obviously know what kind of systems they have now. They unveiled that Motorola, camera systems that they have all throughout the city. And I know people that have been tracked throughout the city. They were shown the footage. I've been saying this, that they were tracking my car. They try to call me a conspiracy theorist, but you obviously know they have plate readers. And so that's the part right there that really bothers people. And so, for anyone who works for the city or as a police officer or just an elected official, whoever, or just a resident who supports the narrative that they're, that's being put out by the city, this is the issue right here, right? This is the problem. Help people understand it. Well, not necessarily the people, but at least the family. Help the family understand this. Why wasn't there, a plate picked up right away? Why didn't they find this guy within an hour like they did for the guy at Duels in that incident? The shooter there that killed someone. They found him within 2 hours. And he lived in the Bronx. And I would imagine the extra hour was because he lived in the Bronx. Had he lived in Yonkers, it would have been within the hour, right?
Probably, yeah.
And then they shut that place down right away. All the elected officials grandstand, right? So I'm going to try to bring Tony Solari on here. Tony, I'm going to give you a call. Let me know can you hear that, Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How you doing, Tony? It's Freddie Vasquez. I just want to let you know you're live on the podcast. How you
Go
doing?
ahead. I'm ready to rock and roll.
All
What's
right,
up, boys?
He's ready to rock and roll. So go ahead. I'll let you speak.
All right, so I'm going to start. I'm going to do a little backtrack if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
As you know, I'm very, very attached to this case, emotionally, and just for the fact that CJ was my son's best friend. So at the end of the day, I just want justice. I'm not trying to make up conspiracy theories or nothing, but it comes down to I was called into, like I said before, into the principal's office months ago, maybe about 6-7 months ago. I met with Captain McCormick, a lieutenant, I forgot his name, and
Morello.
What is it?
Morello. John Morello.
Morello, and the chief of, yep. So I met with these guys, and they were nice guys. We bullshitted back and forth for about over an hour. And listen, gentlemen, I was sick that day, so I ended up going to the doctor afterwards. So my memory is not 100% clear on that day, but I can tell you this much. I sat in that room. I left that room. I was told by the chief to go home and do my homework. Check out, all they care about is the integrity of the Yonkers Police Department, and, we don't want to, make the Yonkers cops look bad. So I said, I took that as a challenge. I said, all right. I guess they really don't know who they're messing with, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to investigate this. Now, all the information we've got, comes down to very poor communication between the Yonkers Police Department and the Hackett's. Forget about me. I'm a nobody in this case. It's just my son was a witness, pretty much. But the Hackett's never had any type of real communication from anybody in the Yonkers, not even from the mayor. Nobody contacted his family. Once in a while, Paganello would stick his nose in and say something. everybody was in the dark. Of course, we were all getting every story. Listen, the Yonkers Police Force is like the Titanic. It's got so many holes, it's sinking every which way it goes. I was getting information from people, other cops were telling other people things. So after I left that meeting, one thing I could definitely tell you is that I was given a story. This was a direct question from the chief to Captain McCormick. And the question is this, and this is going to stick with me to the day I die. He turned around and said to Captain McCormick, did we have a license plate on this car? And the
fact that he doesn't know that is just amazing. That he would even have to ask that.
Hold on, this is the chief. Listen, I don't think every case basis up to the chief, but I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He asked him directly a question. Did we have a license plate on this car? No, sir. Did we have a partial? No, sir. No, boss. Actually, he said boss. That's sir. No, boss, we didn't. What we did have was a very, very good description of the car. That's how I found it that day. Okay, so that's what we were told. That he found the car. He was just happened to be driving around the neighborhood, and so be it. He just came. God bless. He just go by. It was miraculously there on the sidewalk. So, no problem. I go home. As you guys know, I put together a 6-page email. I do everything. I sleep in that area for days, counting the cameras. Of course, they said they didn't have enough cameras in the vicinity. No problem. I proved there was 39 cameras, and a lot of them were very good quality cameras, like the ones on the Con Edison itself. There's a red light camera right there. So we go home. I get another phone call from the lieutenant on a Saturday at 4:15 in the afternoon, and says, "Listen, you're muddying the water." I said, "Well, wait, this was just right after we were on your show, Freddie.
Right.
Wasn't happy." I said, "Oh, you listened to last night?" He goes, "No, I didn't listen to last night. We just want to keep you, kind of keep it quiet." I said, so he goes, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go listen from your last podcast. Wait, and I'll call you back in 15 minutes." Well, I'm still waiting for that phone call. I still haven't got a phone call. That was 5 months ago. So, all right, I know I'm on the right track.
Yes. So I can't believe that the chief didn't know that whether or not they had a plate.
No, he did not know if they had a plate.
That's something you should know.
Absolutely. I
would think, listen, I was invited down there. Listen, they were great. Don't get me wrong. They were phenomenal. My hat's off to them. He brought up a character. You made me talk to a character witness, but I don't even want to go down that road. I didn't know this person. I've done now homework on this person, and why a character reference, I have no idea. I would definitely not ever use her as a character reference. But that's a different story for a different day. Like I said, I left that first meeting with a lot of questions and a challenge on my hands. I'm not trying to say, they're corrupt or nothing like that. I'm just saying there's a lot of questions that should be answered that the family needs to be answered. That's all I'm saying. So now you put me on a mission. So I go do my whole thing. I send it to everybody. I send it to John Rubo. I send it to everybody. Here's my homework. This is what I found out on the stage.
Has anyone responded to you?
Nobody ever responded to me yet.
So you
to
sent.
this day, nobody responded.
So John Rubo, you sent him what you had, everything that you've researched and you've investigated, and his office has not responded to you.
Nope. He did do me a favor, which is I'm very grateful for. On a different note, this is months later, right before we had the for CJ's birthday, he reached out to the police force and tried to set up a meeting between Mr. and Mrs. Hackett, and I guess he was the police commissioner. And unfortunately, that meeting did not go very well. I think it lasted 2.5 minutes. Once again, they came down, and he introduced himself, the commissioner. From my understanding, this is hearsay, gentlemen. I was not there. I was not invited to this meeting for some reason, but it happened. And so what happened was they asked about video. Once again, there was no video to be shown. So Mr. Hackett got up and left the room, and Mrs. Hackett followed behind. So that meeting was literally a waste of everybody's time for the fact that They drove, 3.5 hours, 4 hours down for that meeting, and they didn't go nowhere.
Wow.
My understanding, John called, texted me and said, what happened? I was going to have the mayor stop by. I thought, I would have wished that somebody would have told me the mayor was going to come by, because I don't think it would have helped the situation. But by the time the mayor was making his way over to that meeting, they already got up and left. So that goes on. That happens, and then I guess I don't know if they're figuring that they need to figure out what's going on. So my understanding, or my feeling, let me rephrase it. My feeling is that, well, let's give this a last attempt. Let's get Detective Coganello to reach out to the mother. So he reaches out to Mrs. Packett, Yvonne, and said, I would like to have a meeting. She tells me about it, and I'm like, you know what? And she was back and forth with it, back and forth. I said, you know what? Tell them I'll go. Tell them that I'll be willing to come into the meeting. I'll take the meeting for you guys. So on behalf of the Hackett family, if that's all right with the Hackett, with you guys. She said, yes, that would be great. You and Chris and I have both agreed you could go in our place, represent the family. So we offered it up. And then at the last minute, she decided to come. This is, let me see. I went away the second. This had to be like a Thursday night, and I took this meeting at 1:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning, I showed up at the police station. And prior to that, actually, I apologize. I took another meeting prior to that, a week before that, maybe 5 days before that, with Coganello by myself. I'm like, okay, I'll just take this meeting by myself. I went there, I met with Coganello, and this nice detective. I really like the guy. He's a good guy. Timothy, I'm going to screw up McMinning or something like that. And we're going through everything, and they found footage. Well, they have footage this time. So they showed me the footage,
right.
And I'm looking at the footage. I see the U-turn. There's no footage of the actual accident. So, unfortunately, there is no actual footage of that.
So they have footage of the U-turn, of the van making the U-turn. When did they get that footage?
Well, the way it was explained to me was on that meeting I took alone right before right then and there, was that we pulled up, I guess, minutes after the actual accident. My son comes, I live maybe 7-10 minutes away by foot. My son had an e-bike, so you guys think he probably made it here in 5 minutes.
Right.
So after the accident, after the paramedics show up, AJ takes off, comes home, wakes me up. It takes me a couple of minutes to get myself together. I throw clothes on. We go right back to the scene of the accident. I make my son go with me. Another kid joined us. I won't say his name, but another kid shows up with us. We go there. So the cops stop me, and I'm like, "Oh, listen, my son was disabled." And they're like, "Yeah, but a person is pretty much a DOA." But I said, "Well, my son was with the kid. My son was this guy missed my son by a foot."
Wow.
And they're like, "Well, hold on, let me get a detective." So that's when I first got to meet Coganello. But it was an old detective there. And I haven't seen him, or I haven't seen his name ever again. I forget his name. I know he's related to somebody in Yonkers government. He was on the case, but he was taken off quickly. I don't know what happened with him. But
Never.
But the video that they show, where they showed the van making the U-turn,
Yep.
when did that they showed you, when did they first get that video?
Well, the explanation that was given to me, by these two detectives, Coganello and Tim, was that, of course, we showed up at the scene right away.
Right.
So Coganello, which is the truth, gentlemen, this is the truth. He goes, you know what? Can you meet me down at the headquarters? I want to take a statement from AJ while he's still fresh in his head. I said, no problem. Let's go. So AJ and I meet Coganello down there. We're probably down there for a couple of hours. I felt like a couple of days, but it was probably just a couple of hours.
But that's not when they showed you the video, though, right? Of the van making U-turn. So
and that's not what they should be doing. That's not what they should be doing in the immediate aftermath of the accident. I mean,
I want to know. I'm sorry. I just want to know, when did they get that video that they showed you? When did they?
They didn't give me a time frame.
Okay. Because if they had that video, that they should have known which van it was right away.
My understanding was days later. It was not right then and there.
Okay.
I was told by Coganello, he was at the scene, first, and then we went down there. We were down there for a couple of hours. That's when we got that. We were sitting in the room, AJ and I, AJ was giving the report, and that's when we heard the first thing come over the rail. He goes, "Oh, I'll never forget. My son and I were thrilled. We go, oh my God, they got him already. Cool, they got this guy. Sounds like they got him." So he gets up and walks outside the room. I don't.
Yeah, that's interesting there. And just really quick, I want to just, and for people who may be just hearing this for the first time, what Tony Solari said was that when he was at the police station with his son speaking to detectives, a call came over the radio saying that they caught the guy, they had the guy, and so the detective that was in the room there with Tony Solari and his son got up and stepped out, and then he was gone for what, maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe longer, and then he comes back and he says, "Oh no, that's the wrong guy."
Correct. So he said, like you said, he didn't say. He said, "We think we. I guess it sounds like we might have just got the guy." So I guess he goes out, comes back, and says, "No, it wasn't the right call. It was I believe it was wasn't a van they were looking for. It was this one was an Explorer. So they talked to the guy, it had nothing to do with it. They let him go. So AJ and I were like, all right, no problem. We finished our statement. And it was a couple hours into it, and we went home. I stayed with my son for the rest of the night. I was there for him the whole night. Caganello went back. This is now, he tells me, he goes back to the scene of the accident, knocks on the door, of course, right across the street from the accident. That's when he gets the first footage. That footage shows CJ and AJ coming up. I'm going to call it northbound. I don't know if it's east-west, but they're heading up towards Central Avenue, McLean Avenue. They were both in the left lane, oncoming traffic. And then you could see in the video, they were definitely on the verge of getting over the double yellow line. Right. And then you can't see nothing no more after that. But you do see a van on these particular cameras, which they had that night, pass on the way down. And then I guess he also was able to see it going up prior to that. And so they had that footage probably within, I would say, 6 hours. I went out to these, listen, gentlemen, I am approximating here. I could have been in that room with my son for 20 minutes, all I know, but it felt forever giving that statement. So it could have been.
I'm sorry, I just want to.
3 hours.
Did they have the plate in that video? Can you see the plate of the van?
No.
And why would they pull over an Explorer if they're looking for a van when they came?
I have no idea. This is all questions that haven't been answered. But long story short, it wasn't the right call. They let that person go. Months and months go by, very little. I spoke to Anthony that night during that meeting, and he told me that he worked it for 18 straight hours. I said, "Tony, you have to understand, I had to go home and sleep." I said, "Listen, I understand you go home and sleep. Go ahead, go home and sleep." Now, and he sent it over to his case to this guy, Timothy. So Timothy's doing his job and going through video footage after footage. There was three vans in that area that night. That's what they limited it down to. 3 vans, definitely. Those are the 3 vans. It could have been any one of these 3 vans. And I guess he backtracked with one particular van. I don't know how, but backtracked with one van. And they were able to follow it and get a license plate. Caganello was on his way back into the office that day. And when he got the phone call for Tim and said, "Yo, I think we got the guy." So my understanding now, it was, they were going to go out and, I don't know why they didn't pick him up right away. But, I guess there's procedures, and Anthony would know more than I do, but there's procedures you got to follow. I guess you need to make a timeline of everything before you go out and get a guy. I have no idea. So after that meeting, I leave, and I called Ron up, and I say, "Oh, you might want to come down here and look because they have footage." And she's like, "Do they have footage now?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Unfortunately, I'm going to have to chalk this up as just bad communication in this, from start to up to this point where nobody's talking to the family. But if you want," I said, "I'll go with you at 1:30 in the morning. I can do it at 1:30. They could do it at 1:30. She's like, "Well, fuck it, let's do it." So set it up. So we set it up for 1:30 in the morning. We get down there. I was expecting Tim to be there too, but it was just picked up to Gaganelli. And, great attitude, great everything. Goes up, comes down, got a fire folder, bunch of tapes, bunch of videos. He shows us the
U-turn. Yeah, he's not a bad guy.
I just think to a point, there was some bad police work where they should have been more personalized with the family, especially on an incident like this. keeping them more informed of what's going on because, no news is good news, but at the same time, unfortunately, we lost CJ here. We should be getting updates, not like letting us listen to everything on the streets and everything wherever else we're getting our information. They should be updating them and giving them, this is how far we got so far, but none of that was happening. But listen, maybe this is a learning curve for them in the future. So then we're sitting there and I explained to Iran, I said, listen, when I was here, I said, there was another detective in the room, and he brought up a point that, I don't know if you guys remember it, I've been saying, I was told from day one that CJ was 1.8. His alcohol level was 1.8. So I must have said this 5 million times, Freddie. In front of the chief, in front of the Captain McCormick, in front of everybody. Nobody ever corrected me. The guy, Timothy, turns around and goes, Tony, I think I call me Tony. He goes, I hate to correct you, but you're wrong. So what do you mean I'm wrong? It's no way he was 1.8. So that's what he was in. And at first, Caganello agreed. He goes, yeah, 1.8. He goes, no, it can't be. No way he could be alive. It's actually point 0.18. So listen, gentlemen, that 1.8, let me tell you something. Being a father, you're a father, Anthony, you're a father, thinking that this kid walked into my house, 1.8, and walked out of my house. Me not knowing that this kid was still been pissing his pants, falling across the floor. It made me, think that I was the worst parent in the world. How can I not see this kid being that drunk? Now you got to think 0.18. Yeah, he had a beer in him. That's pretty much what it comes down to. So so they corrected me on that, and I thank them very much because that alone put a mental stress on me alone that I failed this. I thought I failed the kid. I was told I was like, I can't believe I didn't notice this kid was that drunk.
I thought it was poor taste for them to, put that information out there.
It doesn't even matter, Freddie. It doesn't even, Tony. Listen,
information out there. I'm just saying it
doesn't even matter. It's of no relevance to how they should be.
Looking
for the vehicle that was involved in the accident and arresting and charging the person who was driving it. That's
my point. Why would he even do that? I mean, try to villainize CJ as if he was,
It seems like it might have just been a pitiful attempt to get the family to accept that it was maybe the kid's fault. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's like saying, hey, you know what? Bad things happen to good people. It's along those lines.
Well, so what happened was then after that, and I brought that up, and he explained everything to Yvonne, and I explained to him how, Tim found the tape, whatever. And so at my very first meeting with the big boys, the principal and all that, he explained to me that day, he was like, listen, unfortunately, detectives work to a point. Eventually they have to go home, and then, they come back when they're fresh, and they start, investigating the case again. Well, Anthony DiMaggio has been saying that's not the case, where there's no stop the case right there, that somebody else took over. So we find out that Tim took over the case.
And there will be overlap. It won't just be the outgoing detective leaves when the new guy gets here. There has to be some overlap. So that's why, on most midnight shifts, you have 2, maybe 3 detectives working to skeleton crew in case something like this happens. But when something like this happens, they'll immediately start calling in other detectives to work the case with them, to cover the radio, to do all sorts of other things. Okay. Then, they'll call the day tour detectives in a little bit early so that there can be some overlap. You want overlap sometime between when the outgoing detective leaves and when the incoming detective comes in. You want some overlap so they can talk about the case together for an hour or so or whatever. And then when the initial detective goes home, the incoming detective who has been working with him for an hour or so, who knows what's going on, can pick up where he left off. Okay. So it's not just like, okay, I punch the clock at 8 o'clock and I go home, and then the incoming guy comes in and starts having no idea what's going on.
And so they said basically that he stopped to go home and rest, and no one did anything for that time period. I mean, if you watch the first 48 hours, you would know that's not true.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, so that's what the impression they gave us. But now we know for the fact that Tim did follow up. Tim was off to the found tape, found the car, and then the source came out with.
So Tim found the car? Tim found the plate?
Well, they found the license plate.
And so, but they didn't mention Tim at first.
No. I've never heard of Tim until that very first day I met him that day.
Tim probably found it right away, and that's when they found the car. And
so think about what Anthony Cognatello was actually saying. What he's basically saying is that I'm not much of a detective, and Tim McMenamin is a rock star because I had 18 and 20 hours to do what Tim McMenamin did in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true. And that's another point I wanted to make really quick because, this is what's sad. And this is to the police officers, the Yonkers Police Department. The city of Yonkers, holds our police department, very high. They love the Yonkers police officers. They so respected. They love the department. They always, champion for them, and we say they're the greatest police department in the country, right? We say that, they say that, that's what they brag themselves, and we agree with them. We always say, yeah, that's true. At least most of us do, right? So I'm sure some of them have issues. So if you're the greatest police department in the country, right, and especially when it comes to salaries, they deserve every penny because they are. How did you not find this car right away?
Well, that's one of my questions, because what I'm about to say now.
So a simple thing.
Gentlemen, this is my personal belief, and listen. I could honestly say I could prove that there's something going on in there from the upper up to the bottom. I could prove it. At this point, it's not even worth chasing anymore. And because honestly, this is what happened at this last meeting. The last meeting we had, they explained to us, they got the license plate, and then they went out right away. Okay, no problem. My question is this. When I sat there when I was there with Detective Cognelli and Mrs. Hackett, very simple. They had the license plate. They were going. That's how Captain McCormick found the car. He found the car because he had the license plate. So the statement I had with the principal, I called him the principal, the commissioner, months and months before that. Remember, gentlemen, I was told there was no. There was no partial. There was no license plate. There was a very good description. That's not the case.
Right.
So well, the license plate was written in the report.
And that last meeting, we were told, that the license. We had the license plate. That's how Captain McCormick found the car. I said, "Oh, really?" Right. And I said to him, I said, "That's not what I was told the first time." I said, "Now we also had a good description, but it was that." I said, "It's funny how it was just on the side of the road that day." Yonkers was doing some, I guess it was some water work. All the cars were on the side. So what happened was that they knew the car was driving around still. Because the fact that it was pinged the night before, the car was still driving around. They know the car was in the area. And then it pinged again that morning with another license plate reader on the way. So my understanding, thank God, Captain McCormick's one of those good, captains that actually go out on the street. He went out on the street and said, "No, I'm going to look for this car. It's just pinged in that area. I'll go look in that area." And that's when he found the car. And
is that what it was? Is it because Captain McCormick? Because that's not something different that I'm hearing now. Is it that he was just going out there and taking the initiative, or was it because that was the way they wanted?
McCormick does like to ride around. He is the kind of guy who likes to ride around and look around for stuff. So that's not It's not.
My understanding from everyone I talk to, that's the type of cop he is. He's not a guy that likes to stand behind the desk. He likes, and Anthony, the guy better than I do. I met the guy twice in my whole life. He seems like a type that he wants to get his hands dirty. He wants to be out in the field. That's the type of he is.
To a degree, he likes to be involved. He's a field general, right?
So you don't know exactly when they found the plate. They had I had the plate. They knew the plate. Do you know exactly when?
Well, we know. Somebody else just gave me a report. Was it a week and a half ago? That at 10:18 in the morning, the plate was entered into some type of I don't know, some type of computer to be on the lookout for this car. That was at 10:18. I think by 10:30 in the morning, it pinged and they knew exactly where the car was.
But if you look up the registration, you're going to know who the owner is, and you're going to go right to the house, right? Why put out a bolo?
Now the question was, it came up with, I believe, once again, listen, this is all from memory, gentlemen, that there was not one address, but there was 2 or 3 addresses. So, like the common sense, like you said earlier, buddy, you're like, all right, three, you don't have 500 addresses. You don't have 50 addresses.
Right.
You don't have 10. Why not send a police car to each one of those houses right away? To see where,
Oh, wait a
Where
minute.
what?
No, I have Tone. I have that.
Although he
that
wouldn't have been home.
Cognatello.
He would have been in City Hall.
Cognatello told you that there were 2 addresses, and that the cops went to both of them, but there was nobody there, or something like that. But the problem is,
They
my sources.
went to one house already, and they were on their way to the second one, and they drove by and saw Captain McCormick on the side of the road in his car, and they pulled up and said, "Yo, what's going on?" And he pointed to the car. He goes, "I think that's the car right there."
Because what I know, what my sources tell me is that the YPD has 3 addresses on file for Stephen Dolan.
But they know who he is, and they know he works for the city, and so it's not hard to find.
Right.
It's not like you're looking for somebody that no one knows, is a stranger, and there's 3 addresses. The minute it says Stephen Dolan, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but so again,
It's
so
like
another
now Freddie
question.
Vasquez.
If it's 2 or 3 addresses that you have on file for the guy, and you have his plate in the early hours of August 4th, okay, and if you called the plate in at 10 something in the morning, but if you found the plate in the LPR hours earlier than that, then why did you not have cops at all of those addresses immediately?
Right.
There may be a legitimate reason, but they should explain that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it doesn't sound legitimate to me.
But
You know what? I was never a detective, so maybe I'm wrong. Tell me why. That's
Well, I believe what they were saying is that they went to one address, but he was already gone from that address. They were on his way to the second one. That's when, I guess, Captain McCormick found the call. Thank God. He did a great job of finding it.
That's hours later, though. So why are they only on their way to the second address hours later?
Why not just go to his job, which is the city job that he has?
Well, I don't think they know at that time that who. I mean, I don't know. Does it say?
Right.
Does it say who he worked for?
His plate is who he worked for. So if they had his plate, then they had his name.
And they have his name, they know who he is.
Right. Especially since his stepmother works for DPW as well. I mean, the whole family.
Well, listen, you guys, that's out of my realm right there. What you guys?
They're well known, is my point. They're well known. Everyone knows who they are. Right.
The minute the name came up, they should have already knew who the guy was, where he's going to be, today at this time, because he's a city employee, works for DPW. And all they have to do is call down to Tom Meyer and say, "Hey, Tom Meyer, one of your guys is, involved in a hit and run."
The plate. That's what it's all about, is the plate. The plate gives you the names, gives you the who.
I put cameras up every day. I do stores every day. LPR cameras, listen, you got it. That's what it comes down to. If you have a clear picture, you got it. You should be able, with the technology we have today, you should have been able to probably find that plate within hours. Now, listen, yes, there was no,
and they were
footage of the accident, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack, but it really wasn't. You already limited down to 3 cars, 3 possibilities. We pay Yonkers cops a lot of money, and we got one of the best forces. Like you guys are saying, we got one of the. So why don't we dispatch them to all 3? One of them had to show up, right? And listen, if I was a bad guy, I'd probably be hiding my car. My car would be in a shop, or it'd be in New Jersey. It would be somewhere else.
But if you protected, or you feel you're protected, you're going to be driving around because you're not concerned with hiding.
I don't buy that.
I mean, the guy was driving around, right? And you just said if you had done that, you would be hiding, and so would I, and I'm sure so would Anthony DiMaggio. So why drive around waiting for police to?
Yeah, I would park the car and walk away from it. That's what I would have done. I would have parked it and just walked away. I don't know how. I would have set it up, looked like it was the car was stolen. I don't know what happened because the car was outside my house all night. But people do different things. Does it mean that he went home and all that? We were originally told that he went home. After he got back from the thaw, he went home, walked home, took a shower, ate some breakfast, and left. That's not the case. That didn't happen. He never made it home. He got right into his car from playing darts and went out. And I went to another bar.
I just want to read a comment here. The bottom line is any cop that protected a 46-year-old man that was shit-faced drunk and is on camera getting out of his vehicle with a beer in his hand and dancing in the middle of the street 1 minute before hitting CJ cursed themselves. They made sure instead of 10-20, he's looking at 2-7. CJ's gone forever. They protected a retired cop's drunk adult son. On top of it, McCormick did the bagpipes at the funeral.
Yeah. So when Anthony Cognatello tells you, well, I worked the case for 18 to 20 hours and then I was exhausted, so I had to go home. All right, well, stop. What does Anthony Cognatello working the case for 18 to 20 hours look like? What the hell were you doing? Because you clearly weren't finding the plate in the license plate reader like you should have been. You clearly weren't, calling up the patrol boss saying, hey, listen, we have 3 possible vehicles, vans, that could have been, because we have 3 plate numbers in the license plate reader that popped on the license plate reader that matched the description of that vehicle. So let's get cars out to those addresses and see what's going on over there. You weren't doing that. What the hell were you doing for 18 to 20 hours? Well, this guy was sobering up somewhere. I mean, come on, bro. I got nothing against you, but,
Right.
The YPD, the Investigations Bureau, didn't do you any favors in this situation. They threw you to the wolves.
Yeah, they
having
did,
you handle the
McCormick.
situation. Yeah, right. I'm
They
talking about
did you
Anthony
wrong,
Cognatello.
McCormick. Oh, Cognatello and McCormick.
Like you're a new Jack down DD, and they got you working this case. With this guy who's the son and nephew of 2 very beloved retired Yonkers sergeants. You know damn well that you can cover it up and get away with it. So why would you not?
Cognatello.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. How about this? Can we just say I've come to the conclusion? This is my conclusion, and I've been, that listen. They try. At the end of the day, if there was a cover up, I think I could prove it. Yes, 100% I could prove it. Is it worth proving? It's not going to bring back CJ proving it. They're not going to reopen bring up new charges. Right. They're not going to do that.
No, but
so
you know what, Tony? I have to disagree with you there. This is, how many times there's been an employee that's driven drunk and hurt somebody?
But we can't use the same.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Tony, with that. If we don't follow through all the way and really put a stop to this, there's going to be another employee that's going to drive drunk. After CJ was killed, there was still a city employee driving a city vehicle to a bar, getting drunk, and then driving an hour home after CJ already had been killed by a city employee. So the fact that there's no real consequences, right? This is the problem. The fact that they don't investigate and go all the way and fire cops and even arrest them for getting involved in investigation or tampering with investigation, that's what needs to be done. That's what justice is. That's what I'm saying. If that's not where you're going to go the way with it, that's not justice, right? So then basically you're going to settle for a lawsuit, because what are you looking for? Right? What are we looking for here? And that's what I'm saying. We cannot just go halfway and say, and these people are good people and they made it back. No, here's the fact. The Yonkers Police Department, we like to tout them as the greatest police force in the country, right? But they couldn't find this guy right away. John Rubel, to me, is a racist because he was able to find the guy that shot the kid over there at Duels and then shut down that Hispanic Latin bar. But when it came to CJ Hackett, they couldn't find this guy. They gave him all the chance in the world, and they don't even tell you which bar he was coming from. They don't even tell you where he was getting shit-faced drunk. They don't tell you none of that. They don't even say a word. You give them information, and they don't even respond. But he wanted to shut down the Latin nightclub, the Spanish people, so we could take their building, right? Come on, that's what I'm saying.
You guys, we're getting away from the CJ case here. I'm not in this for the political aspect of it.
But it's political, Tony. It's political. That's why they did this.
At the end of the day, I think it was poor police work, not enough, communication with the family, And listen, you guys all have different knives to grind with the police.
I don't have an axe to grind, Tony. I do not have an axe to grind, and I know they probably drilled that into your head.
Yeah,
I have no axe to grind.
Ask people around me. Nobody controls me.
No, I'm not saying control you, but people can, convince you of something, and not because you're a weak person. I mean, they can, I've been convinced of things too. It doesn't say anything negative about you. I'm just saying that they may want you to believe that, but the reality is I don't have an axe to grind because, at the end of the day, whatever my situation was almost 2 years ago now is pretty much resolved, right? And now I'm doing this because the people want transparency. The people want justice. The people want to see this not happen again. And if we don't follow all the way through, then what are we doing? What are we looking? But what is that you're looking for, Tony, in this situation? Then
right now, all I want is this guy to be put away for the crime that we went to 7 years now. If we can't get to 10 to 20, we went to 7 years. That's what it is going to come down to. It's nothing. No matter what we do, even if he has 10 to 20, it'll never bring CJ back.
No, nothing's going to bring CJ
at the end
back.
of the day, I want the mayor to pick up his phone or get on the platform like he did with, a family member, which I'm not going to get into it, but, no, actually, what the fuck? Let's do it. He goes down to the Nolan, he goes up there. Listen, gentlemen, I'm telling you, I don't know nothing about this family other than what I just recently found out about them. They were brought into me by the chief of police. That's how I met these people. Now I look into it. It was once again a tragic accident over by Burger King. A young man lost his life. Spano was at the hospital. Spano was on the platform yelling for justice, and all that. So what happened now?
And rightfully so.
Now, we don't get nothing. We don't get nothing. I have to put people on check. Call out Rubo. Call out, Mayor. Call out all these different politicians to show up for the memorial. And guess what? Rubo showed up. David Civiluli showed up. Some of the respected members of the Yonkers, Mamba Club showed up. Henry showed up. They showed up. That's respect. Could have made 5 minutes for CJ. I'm assuming he could have. I see him. We're worried about stores being broken into and all that. Opening this, ribbon cutting here. We asked for 10. I think the meeting was no more than 15 minutes. Did the Yonkers cops stop and shut down the area for us? Yonkers cops showed up. They shut down the area for us. We had a good 50 to 100 people at that together. Mike, at the same time, everyone's saying, I don't know why Mike's staying away, but I like Mike, but at the same time, you got to think he's also one of your nephew's best friends, CJ. You would think, why isn't he speaking out about this? Is it too close at home?
Well,
I don't
Tom,
know.
let me
put money in the campaign. I don't know. But at the same time, I am a little miffed about that. I've known Mike for years and years. And when my father passed away, he came over and shook my hand, came to my father's funeral. I know that family. But at that same, I want them to turn around and be responsible and say, listen, this is one of our children in this community. No matter who he is, white, black, purple, green, and the way he stepped up for other families, he should be stepping up for every kid out there. Everybody who goes out there.
Right.
Every young soul lost, is unacceptable in this town.
Yeah,
we're supposed
absolutely
to have the we're supposed to have the safest city ever. Come on now, guys. If you're gonna claim that, then stand behind it. Show us that you saw.
Well, the difference is that in this situation with CJ Hackett, the person that did the crime is connected to city officials, people that work for the city. The family is connected. That's the difference. That's the game changer here, and that's why the family didn't get what the Nolan family got.
I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see how that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, let me give you my little take on that. It's not wrong for the mayor to meet with the family, a family that's just experienced a tragedy like the one that the Nolans experienced, and that's the right thing to do. But he should also be doing it in this situation, is what I'm saying. And the fact that he's not, I'm not a political advisor or anything like that. So, as far as politics, I'm not going to say what he should be doing. But what I'm saying is that the fact that he's not doing it, to me, is kind of telling. That means it's a hairy situation. There's something that he must know about it, that he doesn't want to get caught in a situation where he's being asked a tough question and he has to come up with an answer on the fly and says the wrong thing. So it's precarious. It's dangerous for him to come and give the same treatment to the Hacketts that he gave to the Nolans, because there's something going on there. That's the way I read the situation. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the situation, and there's a reason for it. That's the way I see it.
I at this point is like, and I spoke to Vaughn about it. Right now it comes down to the fact that we're going to trial. Hopefully, the DA will do his job. I mean, do a better case that he's done in the last couple of months with this. Hopefully he's he's a finisher on this. And he gets the justice that we need.
But didn't the DA say that he was probably going to get 2.5 years?
Well, that could be the worst case scenario. 2.5 years, he might be out. 2.5, he might get 2.5. It all depends. And then with good behavior, he might be out in a year, 6 to 8 months. It's still not enough. Thank God, they're trying to get this new law passed, but, unfortunately, it's afterwards. But, it's just a shame that we have to go down this road. Somebody with morals, you would think by now, no one would turn around and make some type of comment. I'm sure his lawyers are telling him, don't say nothing, don't say nothing, don't say nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But common sense is this. There's no doubt in my mind, no doubt, and nobody could change that. He knew what he did that night. Okay? He knew he didn't hit a cone. He knew that. Okay? Did he call mommy or daddy? Who knows? I don't know that. Until we are able to foil those after the case, we won't know that. I don't think anybody will ever know that. But he knows what he did. You would think after doing something that you would break signs. I don't care what my lawyer's going to say. I apologize. I didn't mean it. Something. It was an accident. Something. Instead of walking into the courtrooms with a smile on his face, with his daddy by his side like a bodyguard, you would show some remorse. I remember the very first day it was arraigned. It was the day of the funeral. He comes out of the thing and he was asking the question to his, at the time, appointed attorney, and they're going back and forth, and the judge is like, "Is there a question?" And he goes, "I would like to ask a question." And the judge turns around and goes, "You might want to run that question by your attorney first." And they went back and forth for an element. My son and I were sitting on the front. I mean, they had guards in front of us. They had at least 6 or 7 court officers in front of us, lined up in front of me and my son. And the guy turns and says, the lawyer turns around and goes, "Your Honor, he likes to ask a question." Not like he turns around and says to the people that were standing, he had no family in that courtroom at all. No father, no brother, no sister, nobody in that room. It was 5 of us. We were all there for CJ. He could have had this opportunity to turn around and say, "I'm sorry." No. Yeah. What he does do, this the balls on this son of a bitch, turns around and says, "I want to know when I can get my van back. I need my tools out of it. They belong to my friend."
Wow.
What type of sick person says that?
The type of person that drives off after hitting a 16-year-old boy to leave him there with his 16-year-old friend to have to call 911.
Real quick, I want to bring up one more thing that Tony told me Anthony said to him. Anthony Cognatello. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. I'm going to bring this up to make a specific point. When you were down there, you told me that when you went down there last, a month or so ago, Cognatello brought up me and Freddie and said that we're disgruntled or whatever. We have access to grind with the city, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. He said Anthony DiMaggio has a lawsuit against.
Yeah, I heard that you had a lawsuit against them. Yes, 100%.
Right. So Cognatello, listen to this. This is just like Cognatello tells Tony Solieri, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, tells you that Anthony DiMaggio has a lawsuit against the city, which I don't yet. Okay, that's another thing. But then he tells him Anthony DiMaggio had his job back. All he had to do was sign paperwork saying that he wouldn't sue the city. And he would have had his job back.
To me and,
did he say that to you, Tom?
Okay. I don't know those exact words, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, that's false.
Like I said, I don't know those exact words. Yes, you had your job back. All you had to do is come back to work, sign something,
right,
and that was it.
Right. So now I know we're talking about CJ here, but there's a correlation. What? No. That's false.
All right. So explain that because I like to actually hear this.
They signed that nonsense,
when I hear stuff like
which
this,
did say that I. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Well, I was saying, which one?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Anthony DiMaggio. Go ahead, Anthony DiMaggio.
Okay. Right. So it was more complicated than that. What they wanted me to do was to sign this agreement, which included a clause that said I'm not going to sue them, seek a judicial review of any kind, but also that I had to go play more ridiculous games with their crooked quacks on their payrolls. All these guys that donate to them and clearly take orders from them. Now, I'm not an idiot. There are reasons that go beyond, so everybody goes around saying he just wants to sue the city. He just wants to fight. That's not the case. I said, sign this right now. You're not going to sue us. You're going back to the radio room tomorrow. I would have signed it. Okay. I would have sued them anyway. But I would have signed it and I would have went back to work. That's not why I didn't sign it. But that's besides the point right now. Think about this. You got this guy Cognatello. He's a detective. The whole point of these repeated meetings that they keep having with Tony Solieri and Yvonne Hackett and whoever else, the whole point of it is to convince them that there's not a cover-up going on, that the detectives don't do that, right? And meanwhile, here he is telling, while he's at one of these meetings, a no cover-up meeting, he's telling Tony Solieri that the reason the city fired Anthony DiMaggio is because Anthony DiMaggio refused to. You got my audio? Hello? Can you hear me?
You got to read between the lines. He's not going to give you some bullshit here and there. You just have to read between it. You know, at the end of the day, do I think there was a couple? Can I prove it? 100% sure I can prove it.
Can you hear me now?
Anthony.
What
can't hear me.
I'm telling Anthony.
You can't.
I hear you.
But is it worth proving at this point? It's not worth
Why
proving.
not?
It's not going to bring
the one with
day back. It's not going to help anybody. You know, better. I'm just, I just mentally and physically need to let Calmer, God, take the lead on this and let everything play out the way it's supposed to. Hopefully, he'll get the time he deserves. Cogino swears to me that he did a great job and that he, we have a solid case. So hopefully, it'll end up being the right decision at the end of the day. I hope the people who are still in that jury will come out with a conscience and say, this is plain out murder. Nothing but less than murder.
If he gets the 7 years, right, and that's what you want. You guys want the max, right? The
Correct.
7 years. But you said that the district attorney has mentioned something about 2.5 years, and and from patterns that I've seen, with people that are connected, that are part, they get usually the lesser time. They've seen people get probation when they were facing 7 years for a crime that they committed, but because they knew people, they got the probation. So that's what concerns me. At least if they can say, hey, listen, we're going to push for the 7 years. I mean, the judge, 7 years is going to get the max. Okay, I could see, you guys being happy with that, even though he, listen, 7 years is still, and I'm not trying to wish a guy to be in jail, but I mean, I know if he took my son's life, I would want him probably dead, right? Forget in jail for life. But 7 years is just not enough for me. He's still going to get to see his family, still going to get to talk to his family, and eventually he will come out. And so, they have to at least assure the family, the Hackett family, that he's going to get the max. Don't play games. You guys don't want this to go any further. I know you guys don't. I know you want the Hackett family to be quiet. I know you want Tony to be quiet. I know you want Anthony to be quiet. I know this. I know this very well. All right, guys. So like I've said, do the right thing. That's how it goes away.
The truth will come out in the end. That's what it's going to come out to.
No, I don't have you on mute, Anthony.
Can you hear me?
No, I'm talking to Anthony Maggie. Says I have him on mute. I don't.
Can you hear me now? You can't hear me?
So that's at least if they can say, hey, listen, stop playing games. Make sure, listen, the guy's going to get the max. 2 to 5 2.5 years is not enough. He took a life that's permanent. The Hackett family is destroyed over this. And the man's walking around now, right? He's free on bail.
He's free on bail
until the trial.
Until we go to trial. Who knows if it's going to be 2 months, 6 months, a year before we go to trial. Right now, it appears that our understanding is that we're going towards the trial. I'm hoping that the DA, believes in this case and feels like they have a chance to win this case. My understanding is that, it took a while, but all the paperwork and everything has been crossed the T's, dotted the I's, that we have a solid case. What's so hard to prove? You have the guy on a video drinking 17 drinks.
Right.
He admitted to it. How much more can you get than that?
Right.
It's the same, but and I like I said, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, you're playing a double sword here." Listen, there's more than the Hackett's involved, or my family involved. His family's destroyed too right now. You got to think about that. He's got a daughter, he's got a son. I'm sure it's not easy on them either. But at the same time, if it was you, me, or somebody else down the road, I think this goes a whole different way.
Oh, absolutely. You would have been caught right away. You would have been caught within the hour.
It's amazing. Like, for example, right across the street from my house a week ago, a bunch of kids came down. They threw some rocks at some people. A kid got hurt. One of the people got hurt. I had cop cars in front of my house. They pulled my footage. Dude, they pretty much know who the kids are right away.
Absolutely.
It's like every corner has a freaking camera nowadays. That's why I'm in this profession. It's going to get bigger and stronger. Every corner you got the Ring doorbells. You got cameras. There's not a move that you can't make without somebody seeing.
1,000%. Some of these intersections have 4 cameras. Right?
Yeah.
They have 4 cameras. So I have no doubt that they should have caught this guy. And this is what I'm saying to the police department, to people out there that may not, believe what I'm saying here or agree with us. I don't have an axe to grind. I don't have an axe to grind against the police department, against anyone. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying what's obvious, that it took a very long time to find this vehicle when the equipment that they have up, the technology that they have nowadays should have made it for them to find this car right away. And they have. There's been other situations when they've caught the car or the person right away because of the cameras, right? But all of a sudden, this time around, it's different. And so that's what I'm saying, guys. Come on. I mean, we would have to be really stupid to really think that, this is how it went and nothing, was going on and everything was legit. You guys should have found the car. And that's the problem. That hurts our feelings. That lets us down because we, again, we praise the Yonkers Police Department. We give them so much, love and support and, and we say they're the best. And this is a time when, we're being let down, I feel. So, and again, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, say you guys sold out. I was wondering if they had made you guys an offer because again, no. I know that they like to, get this to go away. Right. But
nobody has even reached out to us. Nobody.
From what I know,
the detective in charge.
CJ's dad, I know from, my conversations with him, he wants, maximum justice. And all I'm saying is that maximum justice also includes identifying things that were done in order to delay, finding or arresting CJ Hackett, because that's how we stop this. That's how we, moving forward in the future, people think twice about this, and they won't, and this won't happen again. Or if it does, they catch the guy right away. There won't be this, and again, because the fact that people don't suffer the consequences or the full maximum consequences, it continues. And the fact that there were other employees driving, taking city vehicles to bars after CJ Hackett was killed shows a total disregard and not concern and entitlement, and they feel invincible, right? If it happens, they're gonna just look out for me like they did to Steven and everyone else they've looked out for, like Akeem Jamal, right? Who after his accident, driving drunk and everything, he got raises, right, and promotions.
Wow.
And so and that's why it doesn't stop, because people see what happens to the previous person. So I don't know.
I mean, unfortunately, it's a tragedy, and things could have definitely been handled different ways. But I'm just hoping, and I'm sure Yvonne's listening tonight. Maybe even his sister's listening tonight. I'm not sure if Chris is aware that this is going on tonight.
Yeah, I think Chris did make a comment here too.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
I cut it off because I was getting so much feedback. But at the end of the day, do I think, it could have been different? Yeah, without a doubt. But my main concern now is making sure that we get justice. That's all I'm concentrated on right now. I mean, I can't change the past. The truth will come out. It always comes out down the line. And that's what it comes down to. We're not looking for any deals. We want the max. I'd rather roll my dice with a jury than take a deal.
Right.
And if a jury finds me not guilty, then that's the people in our life that we have to deal with. But, taking a deal at this time is not an option for us.
Right. And it shouldn't be, because again, I can feel it. I know that the you and the Hackett family are really want to see justice. This is not about any money or any kind of financial gain or any access to grind or anything other than finding justice for CJ and even justice for your son, because he was impacted also, right? He was definitely impacted, and so everyone involved was impacted, and so justice for them. It's just really an apology. I think an apology is warranted. I'm sorry, from Stephen Dolan. I mean, that should have been God forbid, but I would have been so sorry. I don't, if I was Stephen Dolan, I'd be so remorseful. Like I wouldn't even like. Oh my God, I couldn't tell you enough sorries, and I know that wouldn't do anything, but I would feel so horrible that I made such a stupid mistake and I took a 16-year-old boy's life and destroyed people. Like, I would feel horrible about myself.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, you look at it, like, man, you know what? If, that alone, I know listen, every boy is going to tell him not to admit to nothing. Don't say, I apologize. It's like some type of, admittance that he did something wrong. But at this time, he's a father himself.
Right. I mean,
it would have helped us a long way. The fact that if he would have just acknowledged and said, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a fact that he was driving the vehicle, right? I mean, that's a fact. So you were the guy. Say sorry. If you bump into someone, you say sorry. You step on their toe, you say sorry. If you definitely say sorry if you killed their child. I mean, this is just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it still wouldn't have fixed anything, but it would have been some type, of remorse. So it's something. I was at a where was I? I was up by Kesco Dam not too long ago, and somebody walked up to me. You Tony Solari? I'm like, yeah, I'm Tony Solari. I always worry when people ask me who I am. I'm like, oh shit, he goes, I'm friends with Dolan. I'm like, oh, okay. Everything you're saying about the guy is wrong. He's a good-hearted guy, whatever. And I'm here. I am in the middle of Christian Park, about to go down with a guy. I'm 52 years old. So I'm like, and I'm sitting there defending him. I'm like, yo, your friend fucked up. I didn't tell him to go out and drink that night. He made a mistake. He should, everything you're saying about him is wrong. What am I saying wrong? He drank, he drove, he murdered CJ. End of story. I don't think there's any other line you could go down.
So you were at Kensico Dam and some guy recognized you?
Yep.
And then said...
And he said, you're the ones defending CJ. I'm like, yeah, I am. And it's not the first time I hear people when I'm walking up McLean Avenue. Well, it's one thing, McLean,
maybe people recognize you, they see you in the neighborhood, but you're at the Kensico Dam. Unless he's from the neighborhood. Is he from your neighborhood? Is that what it was? How did he know you were Tony?
Listen, I never met this guy in my life.
That's interesting.
And listen, he defended him. Listen, we all have family. We're going to defend him. But I said to him, I mean, how can he defend it? He drank, he drove, he murdered. End of story. There's no crooked arrow there. It's a straight arrow. You could, it unfortunately it happened. You think I want to have this conversation every day? Do you want me to check it? Do you think I want to check on my son every day, see how he's doing? After witnessing what happened,
right.
Every time I walk in my son's room, first thing I see is a shrine to CJ. You think that? You think his brothers and sisters don't want to call him up and say, "Yo, what you want to go do tonight? You want to go do this?" You don't think the father wants to say, "Yo, let's go watch the Knicks game," or for Mother's Day, you don't think Alana's going to want to say, "Happy Mother's Day" for his son? We all want that too. But unfortunately, we're not getting that. Okay?
And we just passed Mother's Day too. We're coming on Father's Day.
I'm sorry that he's being inspired, everything we're saying, but, in whatever it is, 2 years, 6 months, even 7 years, he gets his life back. He gets to restart his life. Everybody needs to listen. Whoever's listening to this podcast tonight, get this through your fucking skull. TJ does not get a reset button. Okay? He's permanently in the ground. Okay? He doesn't get to start his life over in 2.5 years, 6 months, or 7 years from now. He's gone forever.
Yeah.
Okay? Dolan still has a chance to redeem himself, make something of himself 7 years from now, 6 years, whatever the hell it is. That's what people don't understand. TJ was this angel was taken from us way too early.
Absolutely.
Okay? And it's a crime. That alone is a crime by itself. And the Hackett's deserve better than what they've been getting from the city of Yonkers. A town not even here, but it's up in Warren County, New York. Okay, not Yonkers, New York, has done more for CJ than his own town, his hometown. Come on now. If that's not a slap in somebody's face, then something's wrong there. Warren County, has nothing to do really down here with us. And they've done more for CJ than City of Yonkers.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, I'm sorry I'm getting upset, but I'm very emotional about this. I'll probably end up in the hospital.
No, don't apologize.
But,
well, I don't want you to end up in the hospital. It's sad because, again, going back to, what I said earlier when I was talking with Anthony DiMaggio, there's people here in Yonkers that work for the city, that are related to people or that are friends with these people that will say something like this man said to you. You're wrong about Stephen Dolan. He's a good guy. Well, listen, we're not questioning whether or not he's a good guy. What we're saying is that he made a bad choice to drive completely intoxicated, and as a result, he killed 16-year-old CJ Hackett. And for that, he must pay. It's that simple. And the fact that there are people saying that, right, as if that's, supposed to make things better. Oh, he was a good guy. Okay, you're right. You're right. It's okay. Don't worry about it, Steven. No big deal, right? Like it's no big deal. And that, people say these things. It just boggles my mind because there's a lot of people that are here in the city of Yonkers that work for the city of Yonkers that would say something like that are always defending this wrong all the time and are willing to attack other people who speak up about this wrong because they are, as I call them, minions. And I just want to point them out. Shame on you, to each and every one of you that will lie against people, that will try and take people down just to be a part of this little clique. Right. And that will lie and cover things up. You're a police officer. You have a great job. You have a great career. I'm sure you got a beautiful family at home. Why would you be involved in this? Why would you say, yeah, okay, I'm good with this. I'm gonna help out here. That blows my mind that there are people here that are like that. And I'm talking to a lot of you people that work for the city that are willing to do this, whether it's in the schools, right, police department, fire department, or city hall, wherever. You guys that are part of the problem because you helped this out. Right? And it's sad. And justice is the maximum amount of time for Stephen Dolan, whether he's a good guy or not. He has to get 7 years. At this point, that's all he can get. He has to get to 7 years because that's what he deserves. Good or bad, that's what he deserves. I mean, everyone that's thinking about how good of a guy Stephen Dolan is should be thinking about what Christopher Hackett and Yvonne are going through right now. Think about
the brother and Harry and Layla. This is that people don't understand that. Listen, he could have been the greatest guy. He could have been Santa Claus for all I care.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he has to pay for what happened.
Absolutely.
Right now, he's out on bail. It's been almost a year. We're coming up on, 9 months now? 9 months. And, he's still out on bail. Walking around, enjoying birthday parties, enjoying holidays.
Right.
Father's Day is right around the corner. He's going to celebrate Father's Day with his kids, with his father, who's the ex-cop. He's going to get all that. Christopher's not going to get that. Christopher's not going to get that at all. He's, not from CJ. We might get it from, Layla and Harry, but he's still born. At the end of the day, he needs to pay. Like you said, I called out Rubo. I called out everybody I could think of, and they did show up. Him and David showed up. Other people showed up. It's just a shame that I can't get the higher officials just to say, listen, this kid's not going away. Just come and comfort us. Tell us, you're sorry or whatever, talk to the Hackett's.
Right.
Don't have everybody else in between us, because what happens is you lose communication there. There's a loss of communication. And unfortunately, I'm shocked the way the things are happening over this, but at the end, I know and pray that it's going to actually turn out for the best.
Yeah, and I know this has divided a community, which it shouldn't be, because I mean, boy is dead, and everyone should be rallying around the Hackett family and giving them their support, not against them for whatever reason, and that's sad that, this has kind of divided a community over on Southeast Side a little bit, and it's sad. And I hope that, we can come to a better place. I hope that, Christopher and Yvonne and you, Tony, your son, get the justice that you guys deserve and can find peace with this. I know it's going to be very, something difficult, not easy. I know another person, I know some family that just lost their 19-year-old child. So they're devastated now, grieving. So this is tough, man, and I can't imagine it. And I don't know what to say. It's horrible. But what I can do is continue to support you guys and speak out about it, put out any information you guys want. And again, that question was just being asked, and is that what's being done? Are they trying to silence the Hackett family by offering them money? And also, was that a city vehicle, which I heard, which if that was, that's something also that we should know. But I don't know.
That definitely was not a city vehicle. I ran that plate. I personally, ran that plate. I paid for it, and it comes back to Dolan.
Okay.
So that much I could tell you.
Yeah. So we just want to make sure we leave no stone unturned, and that we find out all the details,
We just can't throw the shit at the walls and hope it's going to stick either.
Right.
One thing I find myself is on fact and truth. And,
right.
And the truth will come out. And that's what I told Anthony the same thing. I'm like, listen, hey, I just met you guys and all like that. At the same, if we keep it about CJ, no problem. But I'm not into it about anything else.
Well, it's not necessarily throwing, as you said, the expression, because unfortunately, Tony, this is not an uncommon thing. It's not uncommon for a city employee to drive a city vehicle drunk. Not just the guy that I quote over at the bar, but I know from other employees that they've crashed vehicles before because city employees have been drunk and even under the influence of drugs. Right. So it wouldn't be far-fetched if that was a city vehicle. That's why I asked. But, if it's not, it's not. But that's the reason why, because this is a fact. They've been in city vehicles drunk and under the influence of drugs and have crashed these vehicles. And this has to stop. This cannot continue. So,
Am I still muted, Freddie?
Tony, I appreciate you. If there's anything else you want to say, Anthony, I don't know why you're not coming in. Your mic, you're not on mute here, and you re-click the link. Do you have another way of communicating through a mic or something else rather than the headphones? Maybe your mic. Check out if your mic is clicked off. But Tony, is there anything else you'd like to say before I let you go here?
I mean, I do appreciate that you are out there trying to help us
thank
out.
you.
Don't take it the wrong way when I fight back.
No, I don't.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is about CJ and nothing but CJ. I don't care about anything else. Like I said, at this point in this whole thing, listen, I'm gonna call Caganello a late bloomer. He's beginning to rise to the occasion. We got communication going on now between us and the Hacketts. We're being more informed as things are going on. And I just hope that for the rest of the case that they fill us in on what's happening here. We don't want to be left in the dark. We shouldn't be left in the dark. As soon as they know well, listen, not me. I apologize. It shouldn't be me. I'm just, a family friend that, my son was there, but the Hacketts should know way before I do. If they share it, they share it with me. But, at the end of the day, I just want to make it clear to everybody, we need justice for CJ. And I appreciate you guys letting me vent tonight and get that out. Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Tony, take care. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
You got it. Bye-bye.
That was Tony Solari. His son was with CJ Hackett the night that he was hit and killed by Stephen Dolan. You can hear Anthony? They say they can hear you. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I just can't hear you, Anthony.
Still, sure you don't...
Can you hear Anthony?
Still can't hear me? Yeah, because I'm getting texts people telling me that they can hear me. So anyway, I was making a good point there.
I don't know why I can't hear you.
What Cognatello said to, I guess maybe we'll pick it up next pod, but it was a really good point. A cover of culture, how ingrained it is into City Hall.
Can you hear yourself? I'm pretty bad with folks. I'm not sure why. What happened here? I'm not sure why I can't hear you. I don't have you on mute. I clicked mute on and off a few times on your window here. I'm not sure what it is. Never had that happen before. But they say they can hear you, Anthony. So.
Yeah, so
they can hear you. I can't hear you for whatever reason.
I'll type something. I'll communicate with you in the comments real quick.
It's probably on my end on my computer. I don't know. I have no clue. If they can hear you, I don't know why I can't. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This Basement Politics Unfiltered. Again, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier today. I don't know what's going on. It's strange that oftentimes people will well, not often. I say maybe it happened about 3 times. People say, "Hey, you said this on the podcast," and I didn't say that, right? And I didn't, and I'm not sure if there's like this active effort to make me look bad, but they would the family of the 19-year-old boy that was killed today was told that I had said some things that were not true, and I did not say them. And so I want to reiterate: the 19-year-old boy was a good kid. I know the family well, and the family was well put together. Their mom and dad was there. They worked. They took care the kids. They love the kids, and they're very devastated by it, and I just spoke about gang violence in general and rumors that I was hearing about a possible gang initiation, but I wanted to make sure that people understood that that particular young man was not someone out in the street committing any crimes or shooting anyone up or beating people up. That's not who he was. And so not only to know that I know the kid and know that he was a good kid, just really was more devastating of news to hear, and it made me really emotional. It did. It made me super emotional. So anyway, let me get up out of here. Got to go with a wired connection, fella. I think I'm wired. I'm always wired, baby. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. I'm not sure what happened there, Anthony. Why we? What did you want to say? Because I can't hear you, so I won't be able to respond. If you want to say something, go ahead, and I'll let you have the floor.
I'm just typing Freddie.
Yeah, go ahead. Do your thing. I'm going to let Anthony DiMaggio here have the floor.
All right,
Oh,
so,
you.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch you from, I'll tell you what, I'm going to listen from my phone. Maybe I'll get you.
There you go. So just real quick, I was going back to what I was saying about what Anthony Cognatello said to Tony Solieri the last time they met him on the show down at the TV. One of the things he said to Tony was that Anthony DiMaggio is just disgruntled. He was fired because, he could have had his job back. The paper was there. All he had to do was sign it saying that he wouldn't sue the city, and he would have had his job back. First of all, that's not true. I'll get into more of that later on. But just think about what he's saying. What is the point of having me sign it saying that he wouldn't sue the city, and he would have had his job back? First of all, that's not true. I'll get into more of that later. I hear your phone. So what he's saying is that all Anthony had to do was, this is a guy who's sitting with Tony Solieri and trying to convince Tony Solieri that there is no cover-up going on in the C.J. Hackett case. I assume implicitly that, he wants to sort of also add that the YPD City Hall doesn't engage in cover-ups. Yet here he is telling him that the only reason Anthony DiMaggio was fired is because he refused to sign paperwork allowing the mayor to cover up what John Mueller did in this entire situation. Okay, it's an illegitimate leverage play. Yet these people go around trying to defend themselves, trying to discredit me by saying that, all I had to do was sign away my basic right to sue, seek a judicial review. And they say it to people as if there's nothing wrong with it. It's nothing but a bully tactic. Okay, there's no such thing as signing an agreement or signing away basic rights. That's not a natural part of any rehabilitative process. If I had legitimately gone for an evaluation and legitimately failed it, then the next step is counseling. Always and forever. Always was, always will be. Okay? The city holding up the process and trying to leverage my rights away from me because they know that they're in trouble, that is the definition of a cover-up. Okay? So Anthony Cognatello, the mindset of cover-up, just the practice, it's so ingrained into the culture down at the Investigations Bureau and at City Hall that he didn't even think twice about saying something like that to Tony Solieri, a guy who's called Tony down there to convince him that there's no cover-up going on. I mean, I don't, Freddie, if you can't hear me, I guess I'm basically done. But when Tony told me that, I was like, I can't believe he actually said that to you. The guy trying to convince you that there's no cover-up just said that something like that to you. It doesn't even realize that what he's saying. I guess Freddie and I can't discuss it because he can't hear me, but he hears me. He's watching on his phone, but I guess I don't know. Is there any way we could possibly have a conversation like this, Freddie?
I can actually hear you. I can hear you.
I can hear myself in the background now. But did you hear the point I was making? Did you hear the point that I made?
Yeah, I know. It's a delay, so
Okay, all right.
probably not gonna. It's not gonna go well because of that delay.
Well, all right. So we have some technical issues that we have to iron out. You know. But
So anyway, go ahead, talk.
It
Did
was
you
so
finish?
mind-boggling to me that yeah. So I'll communicate with you in the chat. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's a delay, so Go ahead.
Fugazi equipment.
I don't know what happened here. You good? You good to go?
I'm good.
I can't hear you. I don't know what happened. I can't hear Anthony. I try to hear him from his from my phone, but it's not working because of the feedback. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I don't even have my phone, my earpiece connected. I'm all discombobulated. Anthony DiMaggio will be on next Friday. I can't even find my. Oh, it's around my neck. Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. That's Anthony DiMaggio. I'm not sure why I can't hear Anthony.
Mr. Rumo lied to me, and I don't vote for
One
a person that lied to me.
Thank you very much. I'm out of here.